Vol 2, Chapter 502, Destiny. In the desolate expanse of Tatooine, amidst the ruins of Port Mos Espa, Shmi Skywalker lay dying, her voice weakly calling out for her son, Anakin, amidst bouts of high fever. Robot Rock Johnson, a droid with a rugged exterior and flashing red electronic eyes, tended to her, placing a cool towel on her fevered brow. He glanced anxiously towards the door, aware of the dangers outside. Since the conflict between Ghidorah and Jabba had concluded, with Ghidorah emerging as the new ruler of Tatooine, the ruined city had seen an influx of agents with questionable motives. These individuals scoured the area, seeking the Skywalker residence, driven by undisclosed agendas. The local residents, having mostly forgotten the boy who left their planet a decade ago, and with Shmi's mobility compromised from injuries sustained in a past conflict, offered little information. Rock Johnson, therefore, found himself as the primary guardian. Despite the agents' persistence, which led to numerous altercations within the city, their backing by the formidable Hutt Ghidorah meant that their actions went largely unchallenged. Rock Johnson, maintaining a low profile to avoid confrontation, recognized the toll the years had taken on Shmi. Her once strong spirit was now faltering under the strain of illness and injury. Determined to help, he instructed C-3PO to care for her while he ventured out to acquire antibiotics from a local junk dealer, using a salvaged chip as barter. Upon his return, Rock Johnson was met with an unsettling sight. Several individuals clad in black suits and sunglasses stood ominously outside his home. Quickening his pace, he confronted them, delivering a powerful punch to one of the figures. To his surprise, the impact revealed not flesh and bone, but a silver-gray metal endoskeleton beneath the damaged skin, mirroring his own robotic form. "You are a T-850, the same model as me. You must be from the 4th Production Group," one of the suited figures deduced. As the confrontation escalated, C-3PO emerged, his voice tinged with electronic sorrow, revealing that Shmi had passed away. Rock Johnson, fueled by grief and rage, engaged the other T-850s in a fierce battle, managing to incapacitate one with a salvaged blaster rifle before being overwhelmed and subdued. Surrounded by human agents armed and ready, Rock Johnson was restrained, his makeshift mechanical legs damaged in the skirmish. Amidst the chaos, C-3PO attempted to clarify the situation, explaining that the agents had not harmed Shmi. Instead, upon discovering their plight, they had sought medical assistance in a futile attempt to save her. The revelation that the agents were not the cause of Shmi's death did little to quell the turmoil within Rock Johnson. The loss of Anakin's mother, coupled with the realization that their intentions might not have been malevolent, presented a complex web of emotions and allegiances. As the situation unfolded, the true nature of their presence and their connection to the broader galaxy's fate remained shrouded in mystery, setting the stage for a confrontation with destiny itself. Rock Johnson finally ceased his struggles, overwhelmed by the situation. Meanwhile, on the planet Naboo, Anakin Skywalker was sharing an intimate moment with Padme Amidala. Suddenly, Anakin's eyes snapped open, tears streaming down his face uncontrollably. Padme, lying beside him with not a thread on her, reached out with her tender arms to embrace him, her voice soft with concern. "What's wrong, Anakin? Why are you crying all of a sudden?" I'm not sure." Anakin sat up, unable to stop the flow of his tears. "I'm overwhelmed by a profound sadness. It's as if it's my mother." "Your mother? You've mentioned she's on Tatooine. Could it be that she's in trouble?" "The Jedi Order has always forbidden me from visiting her, and Master Yoda warned that too much emotional attachment leads to the dark side. But now, I fear something has happened to her. I must go." With those words, Anakin leaped out of bed and began to dress hurriedly, apologizing to Padme. "I'm sorry. I should stay and protect you, but I must attend to this urgent matter." Padme also got up and began dressing, her determination clear. "I'm coming with you." A wave of warmth flooded Anakin's heart, and he couldn't resist pulling Padme into a deep, passionate kiss. On the desolate planet of Tatooine, in the ruins of Port Mos Espa, stood the home of Shmi Skywalker. The area had been secured by a contingent of MI agents and T-850s, with a bright red spaceship parked nearby. Darth Marthael, cloaked in black, stood before the house, gazing at the lifeless body of Shmi Skywalker with a sigh. He had been searching for Anakin's mother without success, only to find her now succumbed to a grave illness. It seems destiny plays its hand, yet I must leave my mark upon it, Darth Marthael mused, his expression turning somber. He dismissed his companions, choosing to remain alone in the house. After a moment of contemplation, he raised his hand, channeling a powerful life force into his palm. Gently, he placed his hand on Shmi Skywalker's forehead. The life force enveloped her, revitalizing her organs, eradicating disease, repairing damage, and ultimately rekindling the spark of life within her body and her soul. Moments later, Shmi Skywalker's eyes fluttered open, her gaze vacant and confused. Darth Marthael shook his head in pity. Her body and soul had weakened significantly after death, leaving her in a state resembling severe disorientation. Vol 2, Chapter 503, Reunion. A Nubian shuttle swiftly approached the planet Tatooine, landing on the outskirts of the desolate city of Mos Espa. Anakin Skywalker, driven by a powerful intuition, raced towards a location he felt inexplicably drawn to. Amid the chaos, he did not forget to ensure the safety of Padme Amidala, aware that the perilous environment could easily claim her as a victim to the ruthless scavengers. Over the years, Rock Johnson had relocated several times with Shmi Skywalker, making their current residence vastly different from the one Anakin remembered from a decade ago. Despite the changes, Anakin's keen senses guided him to his family. It was as if a voice was calling him there. With a forceful push, Anakin burst through the weathered door of his home, his voice echoing with urgency, "Mother!" However, the sight that greeted him was not the reunion he had envisioned. Shmi Skywalker lay on the bed, her face pallid yet still showing signs of life, with C-3PO tending to her. "Mother!" Anakin rushed to grasp Shmi's hand, but she seemed lost in delirium, murmuring, "Anakin! Save Anakin! Who will save him?" oblivious to her son's presence. "Mother, I'm here, right here!" Anakin reassured her. Shmi's eyes, clouded and distant, struggled to recognize him. "You're not Ani. Ani is only 10 years old. He's still young. Who will save her?" "What the hell happened?" "Rock Johnson," Anakin demanded, turning to C-3PO for answers. "Johnson is undergoing repairs and is currently with the fourth group. My database lacks the information to explain the events that transpired. It defies logic," C-3PO replied. "Explain. Why is the fourth group involved?" Anakin's heart seethed with rage at the thought of anyone daring to harm his family. "Your mother was clinically dead, but was later revived. That's why Johnson agreed to accompany that individual, believing it was for repairs," C-3PO explained, though the concept seemed beyond the robot's comprehension. "Revived? By the fourth group?" Anakin pressed for more information. Before C-3PO could respond, a chilling voice interjected from behind Anakin. "Dead Angel." The voice was cold, imbued with a sense of death. Anakin swiftly turned, positioning Padme behind him while igniting his lightsaber in a fluid motion. However, he was slightly too slow. As he faced the new threat, a blood-red lightsaber hovered mere centimeters from his nose, its plasma blade contained by a magnetic field, threatening to unleash devastating energy upon contact. "You." Anakin clenched his teeth, fury in his eyes, yet he dared not move. "I saved your mother." "You're welcome," Darth Marthael stated, his tone mocking. "You're a Sith." Anakin's grip on his lightsaber tightened, his palm slick with sweat. "You were on Naboo," Darth Marthael sneered. "Do you know how many Sith are active in the galaxy? 4. And you, Anakin, are too young and naive to understand the true nature of this galaxy." "What have you done to my mother?" Anakin's voice was thick with anger. "Your mother is dead. The Force has already informed you of this. But what you cannot comprehend is what happened afterward," Darth Marthael taunted. "No, you manipulated her," Anakin roared. "Believe what you will. You may also inform the Jedi Order and Master Yoda of my words. Our objectives align for now," Darth Marthael suggested. "Jedi and Sith can never be allies," Anakin declared. "We shall see. For today I chose not to kill you. As for your mother, I intend to take her to a safe place. Perhaps the Kuna Tooth planet will suffice." "Dream on. I won't let you use my mother to manipulate me," Anakin retorted, his resolve unwavering despite the complex web of motives and mysteries surrounding them. "Young Jedi, your thinking is too naive. If I don't intervene, what will you do? Leave her on Tatooine to fend for herself, or take her back to Coruscant and admit to Master Yoda that your emotional attachments have only grown stronger?" Darth Marthael taunted. Anakin was at a loss for words, but then Padme Amida interjected, "I can take her to Naboo and ensure she is well cared for." Anakin turned to Padme, his eyes filled with gratitude. Indeed, this was the most sensible solution under the circumstances. "It's of no consequence to me, young Jedi," Darth Marthael sneered. "But I do have a question for you." Padme Amidala demanded sternly, "Do you align with the Separatists?" Darth Marthael chuckled darkly. "As I've said, for now, my goals align with those of the Jedi Order. The Separatists are merely a means to an end." With those words, his figure dissolved into a black mist and vanished, leaving behind an eerie laugh. "But beware, tools can turn against their wielder." "Don't you dare flee," Anakin shouted, dashing out the door, only to nearly collide with a towering figure. He looked up to see a muscular, bald, dark-skinned man. Anakin didn't recognize him at first, but something felt familiar. "Annie, it's been 10 years. The man said in a deep voice. "You are Johnson! Johnson!" Anakin exclaimed, almost running to embrace him but hesitated. "I thought you were taken by the fourth group. They repaired my body and upgraded my bionic skin. I realized I was actually their creation," Johnson explained. "What did they do to you?" Anakin asked, concerned. "Beyond the repairs, nothing. We refused their offer to restore my damaged database. I am who I am, nobody else. I'll always be your friend, Annie." Hearing this, Anakin felt a surge of warmth through the Force. He stepped forward and hugged Johnson tightly. That person who just left, Dead Angel, what was he doing here? "I don't know much about him. The fourth group has been searching for my mother recently. I've been hiding her, but they found us today. My mother, she passed away. I thought they meant harm, so I was the one who ended her suffering. If I had known their intentions were not malevolent, perhaps she could have received help sooner." "It's not your fault, Johnson. You shouldn't blame yourself. It's I who should be apologizing," Anakin consoled, his voice heavy with emotion. This moment between them was a poignant reminder of the complexities and unintended consequences that often accompany their choices and actions in a galaxy fraught with conflict and uncertainty. "Spaceships coming to dump garbage here?" Anakin asked, puzzled. "It's a common practice for smugglers and those looking to dispose of evidence. The planet's remote location and the lack of enforcement make it an ideal spot," Rock Johnson explained. Anakin nodded, understanding the situation. "Then let's not waste any time. We need to get to that spaceport and secure a ship." Padme Amidala, standing beside Anakin, looked at him with concern. "Anakin, it's dangerous. Are you sure about this?" Anakin met her gaze, determination in his eyes. "I have to save Obi-Wan. He's not just my master, he's like family, and we need to alert the Republic about the Separatists' plans. It's our only chance to prevent a war." Understanding the gravity of the situation, Padme nodded. "Then I'm coming with you. We'll face this together." With their plan set, the group quickly gathered their belongings. Rock Johnson, carrying Shmi Skywalker, led the way, with C-3PO trailing behind, clutching a bag of essentials. The urgency of their mission weighed heavily on them as they made their way through the deserted streets towards the spaceport. As they approached the spaceport, they could see the outlines of various spacecrafts, some in better condition than others. Rock Johnson, with his knowledge of machinery, quickly identified a ship that would suit their needs. "This one," he pointed to a medium-sized freighter that looked like it had seen better days but appeared space-worthy. Anakin inspected the ship, his mechanical skills coming to the forefront. "It's not the best, but it'll get us where we need to go. Let's get it ready for takeoff." Working together, they managed to get the ship operational. Anakin took the pilot's seat, with Padme beside him and Rock Johnson securing Shmi in the back. C-3PO, ever anxious, fretted about the safety of their journey. As the engines roared to life, Anakin felt a mix of emotions. The weight of their mission, the uncertainty of what lay ahead, and the hope that they could make a difference, all played on his mind. But there was no turning back now. They were on a course that would lead them into the heart of a conflict that threatened the galaxy. "Let's go," Anakin said, determination in his voice as he engaged the hyperdrive. The stars stretched into lines as they made the jump to hyperspace, leaving Tatooine and their troubles behind, at least for the moment. The beginning of the war loomed on the horizon, but they were ready to face whatever challenges came their way. Together, they would fight to bring peace to the galaxy, or die trying. "Are ships coming to Tatooine now?" Anakin Skywalker inquired, his curiosity piqued. In the scrap recycling business, Ghidorah the Hutt is in dire need of funds to rebuild the track. She aims to include the Bunta Night Shuttle Grand Prix as one of the stages, but lacks the resources to establish a smuggling network like Jabba. Consequently, I've had to explore alternative revenue streams, Rock Johnson explained. As a result, the port of Mos Esper, devastated in the previous conflict, has been transformed into a veritable wasteland. "Padme, could you ensure my mother's safe return to planet Naboo? C-3PO will accompany you," Anakin requested, wrapping his arms around Padme's shoulders with a solemn expression. Gazing affectionately at Anakin's youthful and handsome face, Padme nodded in agreement and replied, "I will, Annie, but you." Her words were cut short as Anakin pulled her into a deep, passionate kiss. In that moment, enveloped in each other's embrace, the world around them faded away, their kiss conveying emotions far beyond what words could express. After what felt like an eternity, they parted, and with a significant nod from Padme, she departed with C-3PO and Anakin's mother, Shmi Skywalker. Aboard a dilapidated spaceship hurtling through the hyperspace channel, Anakin Skywalker wrinkled his nose in disgust. "I never imagined this spaceship would have such an unbearable stench, Johnson. Exposure to this odor for an extended period could harm the lungs and potentially lead to infection, though it's unlikely to cause immediate harm," Rock Johnson responded. Anakin, eager to shift the conversation to a more positive note, exclaimed, "I used to dream of flying in a spaceship with you. This is truly amazing." "Me too, Anakin. It's heartwarming to see your childhood dream come to fruition," Rock Johnson replied, sharing in Anakin's joy. "But this journey isn't about fulfilling my dreams. It's for the Republic," Anakin declared, his gaze steely as he looked out the window. As the spaceship emerged from the hyperspace channel, a breathtaking scene unfolded before them. An orange planet, encircled by an asteroid belt, came into view, Geonosis, and surrounding the planet was a massive fleet, its ships adorned with a unified livery of blue and white, prominently featuring an unfamiliar hexagonal emblem. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, the standard livery and logos of the Confederate battleships of the independent galaxy are displayed. Vol 2, Chapter 505, Destiny. As Anakin Skywalker gazed upon the vast fleet before him, he was utterly astounded. The sight of at least 60 Rookie Hook-class battleships, their central core spheres conspicuously absent, indicated they were in the midst of loading or unloading cargo. Accompanying these were about 40 Diamond-class cruisers of the Commercial Guild, versatile spacecraft designed for transport, combat, and deployment of armored units. Their fan-shaped hulls spanned 200 meters in width. Alongside, nearly 300 hard-cell-class transport ships from the Techno-Union, each 220 meters in length, formed a formidable assembly. This fleet was further bolstered by 4 Generosity-class communication frigates and 5 Geonosian cruisers, patrolling the outskirts of the Geonosian planet. These cruisers, over 1,000 meters in length, circled the Rookie Hook-class battleships, a display of power not seen since the Trade Federation's blockade of Naboo. A decade had transformed these once mere cargo ships into formidable warships, a testament to the Trade Federation's increased productivity. The presence of hundreds of transport ships hinted at a looming threat regardless of their cargo. It was then that the fleet detected Anakin's modest spacecraft, dispatching more than a dozen Nantex-class territorial defense fighter jets in a fierce pursuit. Anakin, piloting his makeshift ship, darted towards the asteroid belt surrounding Geonosis, believing Obi-Wan Kenobi to be hiding there. The dense asteroid field proved no obstacle for Anakin, who maneuvered the ship with the agility of an eel, weaving through the space rocks with ease. Obi-Wan Kenobi's voice, laced with frustration, crackled through the communicator. "Anakin! Why are you here? And don't come any closer. I've found a spot undetectable by their radar. You're leading them right to us." "Ah, I'm sorry, Master. I found some magnetized metal asteroids nearby that seemed like a good hiding spot," Anakin replied, a mischievous grin on his face. "Idiot! Do you realize the significance of a fleet this size gathering on Geonosis? It's highly unusual." "I was about to investigate their intentions," Obi-Wan scolded. Padme Amidala has returned to Naboo. She'll inform the Galactic Republic immediately, Anakin informed him. At least you've done something sensible, Obi-Wan conceded. Now, what's our next move? Well, since you're here, I could use the help. Let's dive into the planet's atmosphere and uncover the purpose of this massive transport fleet, Obi-Wan proposed. First, we need to shake off our pursuers, Anakin suggested with a smirk. Let's go. Obi-Wan barely finished his sentence when a Delta 7 fighter jet burst from the asteroid field ahead. It zipped through the asteroids with lightning speed, its pilot expertly navigating the treacherous terrain while unleashing a barrage of laser fire. 2 Nantex-class fighters were instantly obliterated in a fiery explosion. Anakin, seizing the moment, spun his ship around and targeted the remaining Nantex fighters with his ship's turret. The Geonosian pilots stood no chance against the Jedi Knights, who deftly maneuvered at speeds exceeding 500 Gs through the asteroid belt. The Nantex fighters' control systems failed to lock onto the Jedi's ship, resulting in their swift destruction. The beginning was merely a prelude to the chaos that ensued. Dozens of Nantex fighter jets, launched from the hangars of the Rookie Hook-class battleships, surged towards them in a menacing swarm. Run! Obi-Wan Kenobi's voice pierced the tension as he and Anakin Skywalker dove towards the planet of Geonosis, with the enemy fighters in hot pursuit. Despite the barrage of green laser beams that swarmed around them, not a single shot could find its mark. They maneuvered their ships through the atmosphere, revealing a planet that, while seemingly barren with its towering rock spires sculpted by the wind, hid a fierce defense. Turrets emerged from the spires, unleashing a relentless storm of anti-aircraft fire. Amidst the chaos, Obi-Wan and Anakin evaded their spacecraft scanners, weaving through the onslaught with grace. Aha! Found the master! There's a significant metal reaction in the eastern hemisphere of this planet, Anakin exclaimed with a mix of excitement and disbelief. Metal reaction? What kind of radar are you using? Obi-Wan asked, genuinely puzzled. Ah, the metal trash scanner, Anakin replied with a chuckle, prompting laughter from Obi-Wan. Well then, let's go see what kind of separatist junk we've found. Their journey towards the source of the metal reaction was met with increasingly aggressive resistance from the Geonosians. The enemy's desperation became palpable as they launched a frenzied attack. Despite the intensity of the laser fire, the shields of their makeshift spacecraft held strong, deflecting every shot. However, the situation quickly escalated. No way, Master! We must land, Anakin declared, recognizing the untenability of their position. All right, we'll land and figure out a way to send a distress signal to Master Yoda and the others, Obi-Wan agreed. But as he spoke, a Nantex fighter, piloted by a ferocious Geonosian, blindsided them. Obi-Wan attempted to evade, but it was too late. A laser beam struck the wing of his fighter, causing a massive explosion that severed the wing in two. His ship spiraled out of control and plummeted towards the planet's surface. Master! Anakin cried out, diving after Obi-Wan. The enemy fighters continued their relentless pursuit, their laser fire finally breaching the shields of Anakin's ship. With the engines billowing smoke and the controls unresponsive, Anakin made a daring leap from the ship at 100 meters above the ground. As he descended, he drew his lightsaber, deflecting the incoming laser fire with precision. Anakin hit the ground with a heavy thud, rolling several times before scrambling to his feet. Without a moment's pause, he dodged to the side as the wreckage of his ship crashed into the ground where he had just stood. Looking up, he saw Obi-Wan signaling to him from beneath a wind-eroded rock spire. Rushing over, Anakin found Obi-Wan pointing towards a hole in the ground. This should be the vent. Let's go down here. Without hesitation, Anakin entered the hole first, followed closely by Obi-Wan. Meanwhile, the alarm signaling an invasion by fighter jets echoed through the command center of the main Geonosian lair. Tang Xiao, observing the two invading spacecraft on the screen, sighed. Sometimes, fate seemed inescapable. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Geonosian Nantex-type territorial defense fighter. Attachment 2 of the Easter egg chapter, Diamond-class multi-purpose cruiser. Vol 2, Chapter 506, News of the War. In an effort to avert defeat in the imminent Battle of Geonosis, Tang Xiao, alongside officials from the Ministry of Defense, deliberated extensively. Their ultimate resolution was deceptively simple. If one wishes to avoid defeat, the best strategy might be to abstain from battle altogether. With an army comprising 200,000 clone troopers, state-of-the-art equipment, and undisputed air superiority, the Republic's victory seemed almost assured. However, orchestrating the onset of the Battle of Geonosis proved to be a daunting task, bordering on the impossible. The primary complication arose from Newt Gunley's obsession with assassinating Padme Amidala. His rationale might be deemed foolish, but his determination was unwavering. In his view, the Confederation of Independent Systems establishment hinged on Padme's demise, as she would not endorse it. Count Dooku, eager to fulfill this requirement, naturally turned to Jango Fett, the galaxy's most formidable bounty hunter, for this task. Tang Xiao was inclined to assist in this endeavor, considering the assassination of Padme in Coruscant a different scenario from her capture on Tatooine. However, deploying Idella for this mission was out of the question. Having recently succumbed to the dark side and become a Sith disciple, sending her would not only be a death sentence, but also an admission to Count Dooku of her allegiance. Moreover, the MI agents under Mrs. M's command could not hope to outperform Jango Fett. Despite Padme Amidala's seemingly naive demeanor, she was far from a political ingenue, prioritizing her safety above all. Tang Xiao, well-versed in the Star Wars narrative and its characters, knew that Padme would never venture out without a decoy. Consequently, Tang Xiao found himself unable to intervene when the Jedi Order took action, dispatching Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker to protect Padme. Following a second assassination attempt, Obi-Wan set out to uncover the perpetrator, leaving Anakin to closely guard and perhaps become intimately involved with Padme. Obi-Wan's discovery of Kamino and Jango Fett through the Force was something Tang Xiao could not prevent. His inability to conceal Kamino's location or Jango Fett's presence from Obi-Wan left him with few options. His consideration of capturing Anakin Skywalker on Tatooine was quickly dismissed, as it would not influence the battle's outcome, and he had more pressing schemes to attend to. Amid these reflections, Tang Xiao realized the limited impact he could have against the tide of the plot. Nevertheless, he resolved to make necessary preparations. Distracted, he missed most of Count Dooku's speech, only catching the conclusion. Everything has been prepared. 3 days later, we will confront the Galactic Republic and launch an all-out attack. Tang Xiao nodded solemnly, acknowledging Count Dooku's strategy. This final mobilization confirmed the plan to declare the Confederation of Independent Galaxies secession from the Galactic Republic in 3 days, followed by a simultaneous, comprehensive assault aimed at seizing control of the galaxy's outer rim. The assembly on the Geonosian planet was to receive a formidable armada, including 60 Lucre Hook-class battleships, 41 Diamond-class cruisers, and 286 Battery-class transport ships. This vast fleet was tasked with transporting 5 million B-1 battle droids, 400,000 B-2 super battle droids, and an array of unmanned combat machinery and support spacecraft, including the C-9979 landing ship. Count Dooku also officially announced that General would lead the charge, setting the stage for a monumental conflict. Tang Xiao was elated to witness the rise of General Grievous as the supreme military commander of the entire Confederation of Independent Systems. This was particularly significant to him because during Grievous's time as the Kali demigod, Grievous had owed him a substantial favor. Although Grievous's memories had been altered, the foundation of their connection remained intact. Furthermore, Tang Xiao found joy in the fact that Severance Tan was initially appointed as the highest military commander at the inception of the Confederation of Independent Systems. This detail suggested to Tang Xiao that Count Dooku regarded Severance Tan as more capable than Grievous, given Tan's formal military education and Grievous's lack of experience in commanding large-scale fleets. The army of 5 million robots was poised to launch the Confederation's first offensive, aiming to conquer the outer rim of the Milky Way. Unfortunately, the storyline was set to take a turn for the worse when Count Dooku's secret meeting on Geonosis was exposed by Obi-Wan Kenobi, prompting Master Yoda to decisively initiate a battle. Yoda's command of a 200,000-strong clone army led to the Confederation's defeat at Geonosis, a loss that severely hampered their ability to mobilize a large-scale offensive thereafter. This battle marked the beginning of the Confederation's downfall, a fate Tang Xiao was determined to prevent. In his efforts to alter the course of events, Tang Xiao intervened to block Jango Fett's attempt to enter Geonosis. During a meeting, Count Dooku received a communication from Jango Fett, who was expected to report Padme Amidala's assassination. Instead, Fett revealed the failure of the assassination and the discovery of Kamino by the Jedi, with a Jedi now pursuing him. Newt Gunray's frustration was palpable as he demanded Padme's death, a sentiment echoed by Shu Mai, the leader of the Business Guild. Count Dooku, however, urged focus on their primary objective, promising Padme's demise. Jango Fett, eager to retreat to Geonosis for rest before pursuing Padme, was met with Tang Xiao's scornful advice to cover his tracks before considering rest. Fett agreed and departed, prompting Tang Xiao to order a thorough search around the planet for any followers, an attempt to prevent Obi-Wan Kenobi and others from infiltrating the meeting. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan Kenobi, having narrowly escaped capture, discovered a vent on the periphery of Geonosis and signaled Anakin Skywalker to join him. Accompanying Anakin was Rock Johnson, a robot who had been salvaged and repaired by Anakin in his youth, now serving as his guardian. As they navigated the planet, Obi-Wan inquired about Rock Johnson, to which Anakin explained the robot's origins and significance. The trio, united by a common goal, prepared to face the challenges that lay ahead on Geonosis, unaware of the intricate plots and alliances forming in the shadows. "Do you feel it?" "In that direction," Anakin said, his expression turning grave. "I know. The Force is telling me that heading there could put us all in danger. Yet, if we don't investigate, we might overlook a critical aspect of the Separatist scheme. Have you seen the size of that transport fleet in space? What could they possibly be transporting?" Obi-Wan inquired, concern lacing his voice. "Padme has relayed the information back to Naboo and informed Master Yoda and the Galactic Republic. They should be aware of the impending threat," Anakin replied, his brow furrowed in worry. "But that's not sufficient. We need to provide them with more detailed information," Obi-Wan insisted. "How can we? Our ship is down, and there's a communication blackout everywhere. We can't send any messages out," Anakin pointed out. "Well, solving that communication issue is our second problem," Obi-Wan said with a shrug. "And the first?" Anakin asked. "Discovering what this metal trash the fleet is transporting actually is," Obi-Wan said, pulling the hilt of his lightsaber from his belt. He hesitated for a moment before activating it, then said, "Let's proceed with caution, Anakin. We'll take a closer look and then decide our next move." Meanwhile, news from Padme Amidala had reached the Galactic Republic. In Speaker Sheev Palpatine's office, key members of the Senate and the core members of the Jedi Order were gathered, focusing on a holographic projection of Padme Amidala. The atmosphere was tense, the concern evident on their faces. Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi has reported a massive assembly of at least 300 transport ships around the planet Geonosis. "The intentions of the Separatists remain unclear," Padme reported, her voice filled with anxiety. "What could this transport fleet possibly be carrying?" "It's unlikely to be mere supplies," Master Windu speculated. "Currently, Obi-Wan is stranded on Geonosis, and Anakin has gone to rescue him. However, they are now out of contact. Master Yoda, I implore you to aid in their rescue," Padme pleaded. "It is imperative we rescue them. Anakin and Obi-Wan might have vital information about Geonosis," Master Yoda agreed, nodding solemnly. Speaker Palpatine subtly signaled Vice Speaker Masameda, who caught the cue and raised his voice. "Gentlemen, our immediate concern should be Geonosis. The Separatists have amassed a significant fleet there. What could their intentions be?" "It's unmistakably an army. The time for negotiations has passed. They are gearing up for war," declared Ask Aker, a counselor from Marathar. The political landscape had shifted significantly due to recent events on Malastar, with factions either aligning with the Republic or showing sympathies towards the Separatists, leading to Asker's prominence. In the office of Speaker Palpatine, the gathered leaders and Jedi members focused intently on the situation unfolding on Geonosis, understanding the gravity of the threat and the urgent need for action. The parliamentary murders have significantly altered the political landscape of Malastar. leading to a shift in power dynamics. Forces aligned with the Republic have gained momentum, distancing themselves from the separatist movements. This upheaval resulted in the ousting of Ainla Tim, with Ask Ake stepping in as the new council member. There is no doubt that this is an army. Negotiations have ceased, and preparations for war are underway, declared Ask Ake, a counselor from Marathar, highlighting the escalating tensions. The backdrop of these events is the planet Malastar, which has been thrust into a state of flux following the parliamentary murders. The incident has not only reshaped the political affiliations, but also intensified the divide between those loyal to the Republic and those favoring separatism. As a consequence, Ainla Tim found himself marginalized, making way for Aske to assume a pivotal role in the unfolding drama. To provide a glimpse into the scale of military preparations, an attachment is included, showcasing the Geonosis cruiser. Although its exact length is subject to estimation, it's clear that such warships are not commonly deployed, hinting at the extraordinary measures being taken. This detail, intended to satisfy the curiosity of those intrigued by the military aspects of this conflict, underscores the seriousness of the situation on Malastar. Vol 2, Chapter 507, The Outbreak of War, Part 1. Indeed, Jango Fett took Tang Xiao's words seriously. Unlike the other renowned bounty hunter, Cade Bane, who ranked second, Jango Fett was aware of his advancing age and began to contemplate his legacy. He agreed to provide his genetic material to the Kaminoans, not just for the substantial compensation, but also under the condition that they clone a son for him. This son, Boba Fett, who had just turned 10, would not undergo accelerated growth and would instead grow up naturally. In his youth, Jango would never have accepted such a deal, knowing he could earn more by continuing his bounty hunting. However, the prospect of stability became more appealing as he aged. He also recognized the value of aligning with powerful allies, understanding that while desperation might be fleeting, power could last a lifetime. Jango Fett was not familiar with Tang Xiao, but he knew him to be the governor of a powerful planet and someone who dined with Count Dooku, indicating his significant status in the galaxy. Thus, when Tang Xiao instructed him to wipe his butt clean, Jango didn't hesitate to retreat in his spaceship, mistakenly believing Tang Xiao wanted him to finish the job of assassinating Padme Amidala. Tang Xiao's actual intention was to avoid drawing Obi-Wan Kenobi's attention. However, when Padme Amidala's spaceship was shot down near Coruscant, Tang Xiao was furious. Padme's death at this juncture was disastrous. Previously, her assassination while on Coruscant could have worked in Tang Xiao's favor, potentially derailing the Military Creation Act and forcing Chancellor Palpatine to exert more effort to secure military power. But now, her death would only incite blame towards the Separatists and hasten the onset of war. In a decisive moment, Tang Xiao slammed his hand on the table and declared, "Since Padme has been killed, we must prepare for what's to come. The Republic will retaliate, and I suggest we initiate the war now." Count Dooku, visibly perturbed by the turn of events, replied, "Your Excellency, the death of one woman should not derail our plans. This is most unfortunate." Tang Xiao, realizing Dooku's feigned ignorance, took a deep breath and explained, "2 spaceships have crashed on Geonosis, and our search teams haven't found any pilots. This means they're still here, and they're likely Jedi." Archduke Poggle the Lesser added in Geonosian, "I sent our best pilots, but they couldn't even get close to their ship. It must be the work of Jedi Knights." Rune Hako, Newt Gunray's aide, panicked at the mention of Jedi, recalling his defeat at the hands of Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi during the Naboo blockade. "The Jedi are here! We must flee." Count Dooku calmly reassured them, "Fear not. It's only 2 Jedi Knights. If they dare to come, I will handle them myself and ensure your safety." He then agreed with Tang Xiao, "Our original plan stands, but we must indeed be prepared." With that, Dooku activated his communicator, summoning a projection of General Grievous. The general's visage was intimidating, his face obscured by armor resembling a beast's skull, a tradition among the Kaleesh. His eyes were marked with 2 red streaks, and he was flanked by 2 IG-100 Magna Guards, all cloaked, ready for the impending conflict. Draped in half-length cloaks reminiscent of Kali's style, he bowed respectfully to Count Dooku, his voice echoing metallically as if speaking from within a tin can. Indeed, the remnants of General Grievous were encased in a mechanical body, rendering him part machine. "Count Dooku, what are your orders?" he inquired, his tone flat and lifeless. "Dispatch a fleet to planet Geonosis. We must prepare for battle," Count Dooku commanded, his gaze fixed on Tang Xiao. "Our fleets are currently positioned for an attack. Adjusting their deployment now would compromise our strategy," General Grievous pointed out, concern evident in his mechanical voice. "You have a choice. Disrupt the attack plan or lose all the transport ships," Tang Xiao stated, calmly, his words carrying the weight of his military expertise. General Grievous, a seasoned general, understood the gravity of Tang Xiao's suggestion. He turned to Count Dooku for confirmation. "Count Dooku, are you certain of this directive?" "Given the governor of Dawn Planet's advice, I am," Count Dooku affirmed. "Very well. I will halt the offensive on Ruusan and redirect the fleet to defend Geonosis," General Grievous declared, making his decision. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and Johnson had emerged from a ventilation duct into a vast factory, its limits unseen. The sight before them was daunting, endless production lines churning out B-1 battle droids and an array of formidable war machines, the likes of which they had never seen. The revelation was shocking. "We had no idea an armament factory of this magnitude was hidden beneath Geonosis," Obi-Wan exclaimed, his voice heavy with concern. "The purpose of those transports is now clear," Anakin deduced grimly. "We must find a way to relay this information. There has to be a communications center in a facility this large," Obi-Wan declared, determination in his voice. "If I can capture a droid, I might be able to locate their control nodes," Johnson suggested, though he was aware of the risks. "That would certainly reveal our presence," Obi-Wan acknowledged. "Then it's settled. Let's move." Anakin, impulsive as ever, leapt from their high vantage point, seizing a material transport droid in midair and disappearing into the distance. "Anakin!" Obi-Wan called out in vain, then turned to Johnson with a resigned expression. "Has he always been this reckless?" "No, he was more cautious when he was younger, under my protection," Johnson explained. "And now he seeks to prove he no longer needs it," Obi-Wan sighed, understanding Anakin's drive. "Stay here. I'll capture a more sophisticated droid. It's likely to have a communication node." "I'm on it," Johnson replied confidently. With that, Obi-Wan ignited his lightsaber and leaped into action. He descended swiftly, dispatching several patrolling Geonosian soldiers with precise, fluid movements, his focus unwavering as he pursued their mission. Vol 2, Chapter 5, Vert 8, The Outbreak of War, Middle. The infiltration of two small mice into the factory went unnoticed by Tang Xiao, as such minor disturbances were typically handled by the Geonosian guards. In a significant public event, Count Dooku proclaimed the Declaration of Independent Galaxies, marking the formal establishment of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, CIS, which declared its independence from the Galactic Republic. Core members, including the Dawn Planet, Geonosian Planet, Trade Alliance, Business Guild, Enterprise Alliance, Technology Alliance, and Interstellar Banking Association, officially signed the agreement. This declaration was not just a public statement, but also included a confidential agreement among the core members. This secret pact outlined the conditions for their participation in the war and the substantial benefits they would receive after the Republic's fall. It promised them significant dividends and supreme privileges in the new regime. 12 members signed this secret agreement, each accompanied by an assistant, a representative, and an advisor. The representatives were granted higher voting weights within the CIS councils, while assistants and advisors supported their leaders. The core members and their representatives were as follows. Trade Union, led by Governor Newt Gunray, with Senior Actuary Rune Hako as advisor and Root Gunray as assistant, based on the capital Nemoidia. Dawn Planet, governed by Tang Xiao, represented by Francis Underwood. Business Guild, chaired by Shumai, with assistant Carter Min, headquartered on Castell Planet. Geonosian Planet, Archduke Pogel the Lesser and Chief Sanfank, with Geonosis as their capital. Technology Alliance, Foreman Walter Tamber, based on Skako Planet. Interstellar Banking Association, co-chaired by Thornhill and Vice Chairman Luo Wapt, with Murinster as the capital. Enterprise Alliance, legal entity Pacel Argent, with Deputy Representative Denari Key, based on Kiriva Planet. Hypercommunication Group, led by Po Nudo, with assistant Nankin headquartered on Ando Planet. Quarren Isolation Alliance, Chief Dix, Deputy Representative Bo Orba, and Assistant Tractor, based on Daka Planet. The fourth group, directed by Gross Shelby, with Kayenta Walters and Shu Yan as executive directors of Higra Aerospace Group and United Mining Group, respectively. Planet Semels, represented by Councillor Thunbach Tula. Planet Ziglia, Queen Malaji Sintel, and Prime Minister Artai Molek. These 12 members formed the coalition government of the CIS. Except for the fourth group, Planet Semirth and Planet Ziglia, the main planets of the other 9 members became the 9 administrative capitals of the CIS. The CIS's parliament and main administrative department were located on Lassax, with the core officials being Head of State, Count Dooku, Deputy Head of State and Supreme Military Commander, General Grievous, Head of the Coalition Government Committee and Legislative Branch, Newt Gunray, Head of the Judiciary, Pogel the Lesser, Head of Administration, Claire Underwood, Head of the Economic Department, Thorn Hill. Newt Gunray was confirmed as the first in-line heir to the Head of State. The original representative of the Ferrum sector, Rogvar Vodrata, was initially considered for the coalition government. However, due to the Fourth Civilization's cooperation and the industrial strength of planet Semirus, they were deemed more qualified and thus replaced the Ferrum sector's representation. The Jiwan people of Jagdur planet, despite their strong industrial capabilities, preferred to maintain a low profile due to their planet's location deep within the inner galaxy. In the midst of the galaxy, no interstellar banking association or trade union could boldly declare a division within the galaxy's core. Yet, without joining the coalition government, they covertly supported the Confederacy in constructing warships. The Confederation of Independent Galaxies was formally established on May 21, 22 BBY, Markai, G the year 13521, in the Grand Synchronous Calendar of the Galactic Republic. Subsequently, tens of thousands of galaxies, primarily from the Outer Ring, signed a public agreement. 3 days later, on May 24th, these galaxies collectively announced their independence from the Galactic Republic. Simultaneously, the Confederation of Independent Systems initiated a full-scale assault on the Galactic Republic. At this critical juncture, Anakin Skywalker skillfully navigated through a vast factory, deflecting all incoming energy beams and lasers with his lightsaber. With a powerful leap, he ascended more than 10 meters to a higher platform, where he confronted a communication robot. With a swift strike of his lightsaber, he bisected the robot and seized its head, intending to deliver it to the Rock, Johnson's hideout. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan Kenobi was engaged in a relentless battle against Geonosian guards. These guards, equipped with 2 pairs of wings, darted through the air, firing their unique sonic blasters. This weapon, a combination of blast gas plasma and sound waves, posed a significant challenge. Obi-Wan had to use the Force not only to deflect the blast beams, but also to shield himself from the sound waves, which proved to be a considerable discomfort. "Anakin, how are you holding up?" Obi-Wan called out. "Master, cover me," Anakin responded, using the Force to seize several Geonosian guards and hurl them at their comrades. Seizing the moment, he dashed towards the Rock, Johnson's position. Johnson, armed with a sonic blaster he had commandeered, struggled to hit the agile Geonosians, even with the aid of a robotic aiming system. Upon reaching Johnson, Anakin tossed the robot's head to him, urging, "Quick, the guards are swarming." Johnson swiftly connected a data cable from himself to the robot's head, initiating a hacking process. Meanwhile, Anakin confronted a newly assembled group of B-1 battle droids, engaging them with his lightsaber. Shortly after, Johnson announced, "I've located a highly concentrated communication signal 560 meters from us. Let's move, Master." Anakin, raising his hand, unleashed a powerful force wave, sending several destroyer droids tumbling off a cliff. Note 1. The Super Communication Group, backed by the Technology Alliance and the Interstellar Banking Association, served as the primary propaganda outlet for the Confederation of Independent Systems during the war. Its influence, though significant, was not without its limitations. Note 2. The Quarren Isolation Alliance represented the Quarren people of Mon Calamari, who were aligned more closely with the Confederation of Independent Systems. This alliance included the Freedak Volunteer Engineering Group, a key shipbuilding factory for the Confederacy. The Mon Calamari people, however, favored the Republic, leading to a division between the two species on the planet Mon Calamari. This conflict will be explored further in subsequent discussions. Easter Egg Chapter Attachment 1, a map detailing the territorial control at the onset of the Clone Wars. The Confederation of Independent Galaxies is marked in red, the Galactic Republic in blue, Hutt Space in green, and neutral galaxies are colorless. The red circle in the lower left corner indicates the Endor Galaxy, home to the protagonist's planet, Dawn. Vol 2, Chapter 509, The Outbreak of War, Part 2. In the heart of the Galactic Republic, Coruscant, the vicinity of the Premier Hospital was under tight security. Military and police forces had cordoned off the area, where several luxurious hovercars were parked. Only the wealthiest or most influential individuals could afford such transportation, and indeed, many senators had arrived at the hospital. Among them was the most powerful figure in the Galactic Republic, Speaker Sheev Palpatine. Outside the intensive care unit, Palpatine, alongside other members of the Congress, waited with bated breath. Their expressions ranged from genuine concern to feigned distress. After a tense wait, a doctor, accompanied by medical droids, emerged to address Palpatine. Your Excellency, Speaker, Senator Amidala is no longer in critical condition. We've successfully removed the shrapnel from her body and stabilized her fractures. She is currently recovering in a Bacta tank, which unfortunately means she cannot receive visitors at this time, the doctor explained, hinting at the impracticality of visiting someone submerged in a healing Bacta tank. Is she conscious? Palpatine inquired, his concern palpable. The doctor shook his head. She has sustained some brain injuries and remains unconscious. It's uncertain when she will awaken. Palpatine let out a heavy sigh. The Separatists' audacity knows no bounds, attacking right at Coruscant's doorstep. Have we apprehended the assailant? The sheriff, looking downcast, responded, Not yet, Your Excellency. However, a merchant ship in the vicinity captured footage of the attack. We've confirmed that the spacecraft belongs to the bounty hunter Jango Fett. Wasn't Jango Fett implicated in a previous attempt on Senator Amidala's life, as reported by Obi-Wan Kenobi? Palpatine pressed. A Parliament member interjected with disdain. Clearly, the Jedi Order has failed in their responsibilities once again. Palpatine countered, We cannot solely blame the Jedi. They are currently investigating a separatist conspiracy on Geonosis. Master Windu has even led a contingent of Jedi Knights there. It's unfortunate that Senator Amidala has paid such a price. This is undoubtedly a separatist act of war. We cannot stand idly by, exclaimed Congressman Askaker. If we rush to pass the Military Creation Act now, it might provoke the separatists further, and frankly, I doubt it would pass under the current circumstances. Alderaan Councilor Bell Organa reasoned. Palpatine clenched his fist, hidden from view. The failure to pass the Military Creation Act was a setback, primarily due to opposition from pacifist factions led by Padme Amidala and Bell Organa, as well as the New Ring faction headed by Francis Underwood. The assassination attempt on Padme, orchestrated by Newt Gunray, had unintended political ramifications. However, Jango Fett's successful attack on Padme's ship, while not fatal, thanks to the Naboo Royal Shuttle's robust safety features, presented Palpatine with a unique opportunity as Padme lay in a coma. I agree that provoking the Separatists further is unwise, yet we must address the situation on Geonosis. Who will take action? Palpatine mused aloud. Deputy Speaker Mas Amedda suggested, waiting for a parliamentary vote is impractical under these urgent circumstances. We could grant His Excellency emergency powers, enabling the Speaker to bypass the usual procedures, form an army, and take decisive action. However, we must not underestimate the significance of granting such powers. The room fell into a contemplative silence as the weight of the decision loomed over them. The outbreak of war seemed inevitable, and the path they chose now would shape the fate of the Galactic Republic. Among the members, it was Senator Askaker who dared to propose this motion. We need a representative with enough prestige and brave enough to lead us and take this step with courage, he echoed. Who can do it? Palpatine asked, his voice carrying a rhetorical tone. The room fell into a heavy silence. Palpatine's gaze swept across those present, eventually landing on the acting counselor of Naboo, the Gungan, who quickly lowered his head to avoid Palpatine's penetrating stare. Perhaps the Separatists are concerned about the threat Senator Padme Amidala poses, which is why they have attempted to assassinate her repeatedly, Deputy Speaker Masameda speculated. Let the Parliament continue its voting. The Republic has a strong foundation. I'm not concerned about disturbances from the Separatists. However, I do worry about the planets in the middle and outer rings. The tragedies that befell Kali and Naboo could recur, mirroring the disaster on Malastare, Palpatine mused, shaking his head before departing. Jaga Binks, visibly moved, bowed his head in contemplation. Bel Organa sensed the tension in the air. He wanted to speak up, but after looking around and seeing the expressions of resignation, he simply shook his head and sighed. The following day, the Jedi Order relayed new intelligence. In a holographic projection, Anakin Skywalker reported with urgency, "Robots! The Geonosian planet's entire underground is a factory, a massive one. It's producing countless robots and various war machines. The Separatist transport fleet is loading an army of robots." The message was abruptly cut off by the sounds of gunfire and explosions. War was on the horizon. With Senator Amidala absent, and the pacifist members leaderless and uncertain, Jaga Binks, after a night of deep thought, made a bold move. He stood before the Parliament and declared, "Given that the Separatists have now crossed the red line into warfare, hesitation will get us nowhere. Therefore, on behalf of the planet Naboo, I formally propose that we grant emergency ruling powers to the Speaker of the Galactic Republic, Schiff Palpatine." The Constitution of the Galactic Republic allowed for the granting of emergency ruling powers in times of crisis to circumvent the inefficiencies of bureaucracy. This meant that the Speaker could bypass the Parliament and issue orders independently, even those that might contravene constitutional norms. Essentially, this would bestow upon the Speaker the authority to act with the same power as an emperor. Proposing such a motion during these chaotic and urgent times was akin to dropping a bombshell. For the pacifists, Jaga Binks' statement, given his role as the acting senator for Naboo in Amidala's absence, carried the weight of Amidala's own endorsement. Without hesitation, the leaders of the party voiced their support, and the motion quickly gained momentum. Members of the Loyalty Committee, along with several of Palpatine's strategically placed allies within the Parliament, began to fervently advocate for the bill's passage. By the end of the day, the motion was approved. Speaker Schiff Palpatine was officially granted emergency ruling powers by the Parliament. "As I have always said, I yearn for peace," Palpatine declared. "The Separatists have denied us this peace, but my pursuit of it remains unwavering. However, this does not mean I will forsake our right to self-defense. The power of emergency ruling is both a supreme authority and a profound responsibility. I will wield this power judiciously, fulfill this responsibility with care, and strive to restore peace and unity to the Galactic Republic. Furthermore, I solemnly promise that once the Separatist crisis is resolved, I will voluntarily relinquish this power and return governance back to the Parliament." Solemnly, he issued the command, "Build an army, officially establish the Grand Republic Army." Concurrently, Master Yoda embarked on a crucial mission to planet Kamino. There, he took command of an army comprising 200,000 ready clones and set forth without delay. Their target was clear, planet Geonosis. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Jar Jar Binks, who had formally submitted a motion to the Parliament. Volume 2, Chapter 510, The First Artillery of the Civil War. Schiff Palpatine finally achieved his goal, successfully circumventing the vote on the Military Creation Act. He covertly manipulated Count Dooku, instructing him to commission Jango Fett to assassinate Padme Amidala. Although the attempt failed, it resulted in Senator Amidala falling into a coma. Seizing the opportunity, Palpatine exploited Jar Jar Binks' naivety and dedication to the Galactic Republic. He insinuated that only by granting emergency powers could the Republic be safeguarded. Convinced, Jar Jar Binks courageously proposed a motion that no other member of the Parliament dared to suggest, granting Supreme Chancellor Palpatine emergency powers. Despite the historical verdict that this decision was misguided, at a time when fear and indecision paralyzed the Senate, Jar Jar Binks' action was born out of bravery. However, this decision ultimately contributed to the downfall of the Galactic Republic. At that moment, though, establishing an army to counter the Separatist threat seemed essential to protect those still loyal to the Republic on the Outer Rim planets from the horrors of war. Palpatine's victory was complete. He was granted absolute control over the Galactic Republic. The emergency powers allowed him unilateral decision-making authority over legislation, bypassing the need for executive orders. Although he promised to return these powers to the Senate eventually, the future remained uncertain. Following his authorization to form the Grand Army of the Republic, eager industrial magnates sprang into action. Warships, already in the early stages of construction, were rapidly completed in the interstellar docks by countless engineering droids. Chaser-class battlecruisers, Aquitans-class light cruisers, and Broadside-class guided missile cruisers, among other new warships, were put into production. The delivery of numerous war machines to the Grand Army of the Republic ensured that the military was quickly and thoroughly equipped. A military reorganization was also underway, promoting young and talented officers while dismissing those who were complacent and ineffective. These swift and decisive actions demonstrated Palpatine's readiness for the Army's establishment. However, the senators were oblivious to Palpatine's true intentions. They believed that Palpatine had justified their trust and that the threat of separatism was imminent. The Republic Strategic Command, dormant for some time, was reactivated. Republic agents and intelligence personnel were mobilized, gathering and relaying information to the Republic's intelligence department for strategic decision-making. Upon Master Yoda's arrival on the planet Kamino, he found that the Kaminoans had already prepared the 200,000-strong clone army, trained in advance. The clone troopers, clad in white polymer alloy armor and equipped with full-coverage helmets, were armed and ready. They boarded the 12 Cheer-class assault landing ships docked at the giant spaceport, prepared for immediate deployment. The Jedi Order also took action. Since the clone army was initiated by the former Jedi Master Cypher Dyas, the Order decided to oversee the project's continuation. Master Shakti, a member of the Supreme Council, remained on Kamino to supervise the clone army's production and to monitor the Kaminoans, ensuring no conspiracies unfolded. The Republic's Strategic Command assumed control of a formidable clone army, numbering 200,000, with Colonel Meeber, a Zilkin, joining the fleet as a tactical advisor. The fleet comprised 20 Cheer-class assault landing ships, 12 of which were laden with clone troops, while the remaining 8 served as escorts. Each Cheer-class assault landing ship, measuring 752 meters in length and 460 meters in width, had the capacity to transport 16,000 clone troopers along with their necessary weapons and supplies. This included 320 suspended combat motorcycles, 80 L-8 gunboats, 48 ATE walkers, and 36 SPA self-propelled guns. Meanwhile, Master Windu had led the Jedi Order to the planet of Geonosis. Upon receiving intelligence forwarded by Padme Amidala, Master Windu, unlike the congressman preoccupied with political agendas, immediately recognized the urgency of the situation. War was on the horizon. With decisive action, he mobilized as many Jedi Knights as possible, a total of 212, despite the Order's numbers having dwindled to about 10,000, many of whom were dispersed across the galaxy on various missions, excluding those apprentices yet to complete their training. This deployment of 212 Jedi Knights represented a significant commitment. Capturing Count Dooku on Geonosis could potentially prevent a civil war that threatened to engulf the galaxy. En route, Master Windu received additional intelligence from Obi-Wan Kenobi, pinpointing Count Dooku's location, which further solidified his resolve. Propelled by hyperspace rings, over 200 space fighters executed several hyperspace jumps, arriving directly at Geonosis. As they emerged from hyperspace, they were met with intense artillery fire. The heightened alert status of Geonosis, triggered by the prior disturbances involving Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, meant the Jedi Knight's arrival did not go unnoticed. The 5 Geonosian cruisers immediately maneuvered towards the incoming starfighters. These cruisers, densely packed with Nantex-type territorial defense fighters, lacked hangar platforms, Instead, the fighters were attached directly to the cruiser's rears, resembling bean sprouts covering the cruiser's bellies. Geonosian pilots swiftly boarded the fighters from the rear, ignited the engines, detached from the cruisers, and charged towards the Jedi fighters. This assault launched more than 1,700 fighter jets. Once all fighters were deployed, the Geonosian cruisers adjusted their positions, entered firing range, and targeted the Jedi with several twin-mounted heavy turbo laser cannons. Fire! The thick red energy beams of the turbo lasers sliced through the dark void of space, marking the beginning of the galaxy's first civil war, the inaugural battle of the Clone Wars. Vol 2, Chapter 511, Battle of Geonosis 1. As the artillery fire erupted, the 212 Jedi starfighters, consisting of Delta 6 and Delta 7 models, scattered instantly. Many of these starfighters had been customized by their Jedi pilots, enhancing their already superior performance. Coupled with the Jedi's formidable precognitive abilities, evading the barrage of firepower seemed almost effortless. In the blink of an eye, 1,700 Nantex-class starfighters clashed with the 200-strong Jedi squadron. The dark expanse of space was suddenly illuminated by countless laser and blaster beams, weaving a deadly dance of light. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers in the void, marking the destruction of hundreds of Nantex starfighters from the Geonosian defense forces. Not a single Jedi starfighter was lost. The Jedi pilots, leveraging their incredible reflexes, maneuvered their starfighters at accelerations exceeding 500 Gi, rendering them virtually untraceable by any fire control system. Some of the most skilled Jedi Masters pushed their crafts to the brink, achieving staggering accelerations of up to 3,500 Gs. This was far beyond the capabilities of even the most advanced targeting systems, which could only track targets maneuvering at up to 100 Gs. Under such extreme conditions, ordinary pilots would be overwhelmed by the physical demands, but the Jedi thrived, their capabilities magnifying their prowess in the cockpit. The 1,700 Nantex-class starfighters stood no chance against the Jedi's onslaught. Meanwhile, on the other side of Geonosis, white light flickered as 10 massive figures emerged from hyperspace. These were Generosity-class communications frigates, dispatched by General Grievous from the direction of Ruusan. On the bridge of a Rookie Hook-class battleship, General Grievous barked orders into the comms. "Trabo! Get your fleet in position. Don't let the Jedi near this Rookie Hook-class battleship." "Understood," responded a Neimoidian general, promptly directing the fleet towards the Jedi. The Generosity-class frigates, each stretching 825 meters long, were a formidable force, quickly launching over 300 Vulture droid fighters into the fray. Yet, even with this reinforcement, General Grievous could see from the holographic star map that their forces were faltering against the Jedi Knights. A Geonosian cruiser was swiftly outmaneuvered and hit by proton torpedoes from the Jedi starfighters, causing it to rupture into pieces after a series of devastating explosions. Frustrated, General Grievous slammed his fist onto the console, his eyes burning with rage. He initiated another communication, growling, "Captain Kavictos, it's time for your mercenaries to enter the fray." "Leave it to me. Those 200 Jedi Knights will fall by my hand," replied a grizzled human with a scar marking his face. He turned, signaling his crew with a wave. "Sabos brothers of the chapter, to battle! The Jedi will pay dearly." A chorus of eerie howls filled the communication channel as 3 armored warships, their hulls painted blue and white and bristling with over 30 turrets, emerged from behind Geonosis's asteroid belt. These catamaran-hulled vessels, each about 800 meters in length, had been heavily modified, making it impossible to discern their original designs. The Sabres chapter, one of the most formidable mercenary groups in the galaxy, had been contracted by Count Dooku to combat the Separatists. Led by Captain Kavictos, this group comprised warriors who were not only fierce and ruthless, but also seasoned with experience from hundreds of battles, making them a formidable force. Upon the arrival of 3 Saab destroyers into the fray, more than 50 fighter jets were deployed. However, the pilots of the Sabres chapter, having already studied the combat strategies of the Jedi Knight fighters, opted for a more calculated approach. Instead of engaging directly, they remained within the protective range of their battleships, biding their time. They waited for a moment when a Jedi Knight's fighter was overwhelmed by enemy aircraft before swooping G in to deliver the final blow. Master Windu, piloting a Delta 7 fighter jet, felt the intensity of the battle escalating. The relentless assault from the battleships was putting the Jedi Knights under increasing pressure, with more than a dozen of their fighters already downed. Recognizing the dire situation, he issued a decisive command. Everyone, disengage from this space battle and head for the planet's atmosphere immediately. Our target is the orbital defense cannons on Geonosian's equator. During the battle, Master Windu had meticulously scanned the planet Geonosis and identified at least 3 massive orbital defense cannons positioned along the planet's equator, recognizing them as a critical threat. Following his order, the Jedi fighters dispersed, diving towards Geonosis's atmosphere. Meanwhile, in the main command center located in the eastern hemisphere of Geonosis, the invasion by the Jedi was closely monitored. Count Dooku inquired, "Have the 2 Jedi Knights in the factory been captured yet?" Archduke Poggle the Lesser responded, "They are trapped in a workshop with no means of escape. I have dispatched 10 destroyer droids to their location. Their capture, or demise, is only a matter of time." "No, I want them alive," Count Dooku interjected, his gaze fixed on the battle imagery. Although Anakin Skywalker was a stranger to him, Obi-Wan Kenobi was not. Kenobi's master, Qui-Gon Jinn, had once been Dooku's apprentice. "Understood," Archduke Poggle acquiesced, issuing further commands in Geonosian through the communicator. The conversation then shifted towards the strategic deployment of their forces. Sai Shelbia, after a brief exchange with Tang Xiao, raised a concern: should we halt the deployment of our droid armies and instead focus on preparing the core of the Rukri Hook-class battleship for the Republic's impending assault? If we delay our attack, we risk being unprepared when we officially secede from the Republic. This could lead to a loss of recognition of our strength by the Outer Rim planets, severely undermining our plans. Count Dooku analyzed the situation, looking towards Gross for input. Gross Shelby responded with a cold determination: "The odds of this war are in question." Count Dooku, with a confident demeanor, reassured, "Worry not, for we shall emerge as victors. What I am about to reveal is the most clandestine aspect of our strategy, the way of the Sith." This declaration piqued Tang Xiao's interest, who looked at Count Dooku with a profound gaze, a subtle smile playing on his lips. "As I've mentioned before, I was once a Jedi Knight, but now my allegiance lies with the Sith, and I serve under a master who is not only a Sith Lord, but also holds a significant position within the Republic." Volume 2, Chapter 5 and 12, The Battle of Geonosis, continued. "Yes, Darth Sidious is the name of this formidable Sith Lord. The Galactic Republic has been plagued by corruption and rigidity for far too long. Now, when the Republic is at its weakest, is the perfect time for us to act. If not now, then when will we seize control of the galaxy?" Count Dooku spread his hands wide as he spoke, his voice filled with conviction. "Darth Sidious has been orchestrating this grand scheme for decades, and we are now integral parts of this plan. We are participants." Across the conference table, San Hill, the co-chairman of the Interstellar Banking Clan, glanced questioningly at Tang Xiao. Tang Xiao responded with a slight smile and a shake of his head. Understanding the signal, San Hill bowed his head and remained silent. At this moment, Tang Xiao inquired, "You mentioned that this great Sith Lord occupies a high position within the Republic?" "Exactly. It is because of his influential position that he can collaborate with us from the inside, aiding in the dismantling of the Republic's rule," Count Dooku affirmed, to which Tang Xiao nodded in understanding. "Then why are the attendees of this meeting limited to us? Why not include representatives from Quart, Randili, or Corellia?" Tang Xiao pressed further, gesturing towards the others present. "To be more direct, do you believe that we, the Trade Federation, the Interstellar Banking Clan, and the Corporate Alliance, are any different from those core Republic systems?" The question was pointed, causing several attendees to frown and turn their attention to Count Dooku. "They are the very core of the Republic's ruling class. They embody the Republic itself. It's impossible for them to overthrow their own system. Our objective is to unite all external forces to topple these entrenched interests and then establish a powerful new order," Count Dooku explained. Tang Xiao didn't wish to debate further with Count Dooku. He simply wanted to bring this issue to light. Satisfied with the discussion, he nodded and fell silent. Trade Federation Viceroy Newt Gunray then spoke. Darth Sidious orchestrated the droid uprising at the Eriadu Trade Summit, demonstrating his immense influence within the Galactic Republic. This is why I've chosen to align with his plan. Do you share this sentiment, Governor Tang Xiao? Tang Xiao had long noticed the underlying fear in Newt Gunray's eyes and understood the source of his terror. After the Battle of Naboo, Gunray, haunted by fear, had approached Count Dooku to disclose Darth Sidious's identity, hoping Dooku would relay this information to the Jedi Order. The revelation that Count Dooku was Darth Sidious's apprentice was undoubtedly shocking to Gunray. With a reassuring smile, Tang Xiao replied, "Indeed, the power of Darth Sidious is formidable. However, my curiosity lies elsewhere. I wonder which high-ranking official of the Republic he might be. Senator Organa of planet Alderaan, or Senator Orn Free Ta of Ryloth. When the time is right, Darth Sidious will reveal himself to us. But for now, allow me to demonstrate the power that this great Sith Lord has bestowed upon us." Count Dooku concluded, signaling to Poggle the Lesser, the Archduke. Poggle the Lesser retrieved a memory chip and projected its contents onto the large holographic display at the center of the conference table. A projection of a spherical interstellar base materialized before everyone's eyes. The base, resembling a planet, featured a distinct trench along its equator and a massive dish-shaped apparatus in a prominent position. As countless data points and diagrams scrolled around the projection, it became clear that the design for this superweapon was complete, awaiting only the commencement of construction. The sight of the design caused not only the others present, but also Tang Xiao's heart to race. Without a doubt, this was one of the most fearsome weapons in the Star Wars universe, the Death Star. What you see before you is the DS-1 orbital battle station, a supergiant battle satellite with a diameter of 120 kilometers. Once constructed, it will possess the power to The weapon possesses the power to obliterate any planet, rendering planetary shields utterly ineffective. This capability stands as a testament to Darth Sidious's unparalleled might. Constructing such a device will deplete our resources, Tang Xiao remarked with concern. Count Dooku, however, envisioned a future where the Republic would kneel before their superweapon, pleading for mercy. Every penny invested will yield its reward, he assured, his voice echoing with conviction. The revelation of the superweapon stirred a wave of murmurs among the assembly, a mix of awe and apprehension. Suddenly, the alarm blared once more, cutting through the tense atmosphere. Archduke Poggle the Lesser glanced at the communicator, his expression morphing into one of fury. "Those Jedi Knights are decimating our orbital defense cannons," he exclaimed, panic lacing his words. "They're paving the way for their fleet's arrival. We've been exposed, and our plans are unraveling." Rune Hako, Newt Gunray's aide, lamented, his voice tinged with dread. Count Dooku, however, remained unfazed by the turmoil. "A mere 200 Jedi Knights will not cow us," he declared, his tone icy. "General Grievous, command the fleet to descend into Geonosis's atmosphere and eliminate the Jedi threat," he ordered. Through the communicator, General Grievous reported, "The Jedi's assault on our orbital defenses suggests an impending fleet attack. I cannot risk moving the fleet from its current position. I'll deploy the Sabaoth Squadron instead. This will also serve as an excellent opportunity to draw the Jedi into a trap and eradicate them," Count Dooku mused, stroking his white beard thoughtfully. "Have the Jedi infiltrators in the factory been apprehended?" he inquired. "They were cornered in the workshop by our droid destroyers and have surrendered. They're now imprisoned in the dungeon," Poggle the Lesser reported. Meanwhile, the Sabaoth Squadron's 3 destroyers pierced the skies, descending into Geonosis's atmosphere to confront the Jedi fleet attacking the orbital defenses. Simultaneously, a swarm of Nantex-class starfighters launched from hidden bases on the planet, joining the fray. In the planet's atmosphere, the Jedi starfighters were unable to reach their usual staggering speeds of space combat. Conversely, the Sabaoth Squadron's battleships exercised caution in their bombardment to avoid collateral damage. Seizing the moment, Master Windu commanded Jedi Master Adi Gallia to lead a squadron of Jedi fighters in a concentrated assault on the Sabaoth destroyers. In the depths of the main stronghold, Count Dooku, accompanied by Poggle the Lesser and followed by Tang Xiao, Newt Gunray, Thornhill, and others, made their way to the dungeon. There, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker were confined within a laser force field. "It's been a while, Governor of the Dawn Planet. Regrettably, it seems we chose the wrong ally," Obi-Wan remarked, his gaze fixed on Tang Xiao, his voice carrying a mix of disappointment and resolve. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, The Design of the Death Star at the Geonosian Conference. Vol 2, Chapter 513, Battle of Geonosis 3. Count Dooku observed Tang Xiao with a knowing half-smile. "It seems you two are acquainted," he remarked, his tone laced with amusement. He was well aware of the pirate Obi-Wan referred to, a bounty hunter he had dispatched to the model Sector 13 years prior. At that time, Dooku had chosen a group of bounty hunters of questionable character, notorious for their inability to secure reputable jobs, willing to undertake the tedious task of investigating the model sector. Motivated by greed, they had audaciously attempted to rob a colossal colonial mothership, only to be thwarted and killed by Qui-Gon Jinn. Dooku's thoughts drifted to the colonial mothership as he glanced at Gross Shelbia, the director of the fourth group. Despite being 38, Gross maintained her appearance with the latest technology and products, preserving her youthful allure and mature charm. She stood silently behind Tang Xiao, her compliance and tacit understanding evident. The fourth group and the Dawn Planet. Dooku mused, suspecting that there were many secrets hidden behind these entities, some of which even he and his master were unaware of. Meanwhile, Tang Xiao engaged in light-hearted banter with Obi-Wan. "You see, it's because I'm so grateful to you that I captured you instead of letting the destroyer droids turn you into a sieve. How about joining me? Together, we can overthrow the Republic and take charge." "Do you actually believe what you're saying?" Obi-Wan retorted skeptically, clearly recognizing Tang Xiao's jest. Count Dooku approached, seizing the moment to express his disdain for the Republic's current state. The Republic has decayed beyond redemption. Only by dismantling the corruption and establishing a new, more efficient government can we hope to improve. And this new regime need not be a republic," he declared, his voice carrying a persuasive tone. "The Galactic Republic is under the sway of the dark side, with a Sith Lord infiltrating the Council. Join me, and together we can purge this galaxy of its darkness." Tang Xiao, privy to the inner workings of the situation, found Dooku's openness surprising. Despite the half-truths, the information Dooku divulged was dangerously close to revealing too much. Tang Xiao sensed Dooku's genuine desire to recruit his disciple and grandson, believing in his heart that his success would herald the end of the Jedi Order. However, Obi-Wan remained unswayed, his response filled with indignation. "Impossible! You treacherous fiend!" Seeing Obi-Wan's refusal, Dooku's expression hardened. "Then I'm afraid I cannot let you go." With a wave of his hand, several B-1 battle droids approached, seizing Obi-Wan and Anakin and placing them in restraints. "Take them to the arena for a public execution," commanded Archduke Poggle the Lesser, his voice cold and determined. Tang Xiao watched the unfolding events with a sense of inevitability. Despite the deviations from the original Battle of Geonosis, certain outcomes remained unchanged. The complex web of interests and animosities ensured that some decisions, like Dooku's decision to execute Obi-Wan and Anakin publicly, were inevitable. As these events transpired, the battle on Geonosis's surface intensified. The Sabos chapter, leveraging their destroyer's formidable firepower and the Jedi Knight's fighter jets, faced off against the Nantex-class fighters launching from various airfields. Despite their efforts, the Jedi were forced to abandon their pursuit of air superiority. Instead, they launched their remaining proton torpedoes at the planet's 3 massive orbital defense cannons. High above, Master Windu piloted his fighter jet, drawing the enemy's attention and, with immense firepower at his disposal, Master Windu engaged all engines to dive directly towards the target. Through the cockpit, he saw the spherical turret on the ground, its diameter spanning more than 500 meters, with a significant portion buried beneath the earth. It grew larger in his vision until it filled his entire field of view. The force around him intensified, sharpening his perception. Despite the frantic anti-aircraft fire from the ground and the barrage from dozens of fighter jets trailing him, none could hinder his approach. With the force guiding him, Master Windu sensed the precise moment to strike. He pushed the joystick forward to accelerate, then subtly adjusted the ship's direction before pressing the launch button. The last 2 proton torpedoes were released, striking an energy node of the orbital defense cannon with pinpoint accuracy. Suddenly, countless cracks appeared on the massive turret, and flames burst forth from within. A violent explosion followed, engulfing the cannon completely. The Delta-7 fighter jet, now missing its rear half, emerged from the flames and plummeted towards the ground. Master Windu ejected from the cockpit, leaping from a height of 100 meters and landing with grace. Following his lead, other Jedi Knights abandoned their jets, descending to the ground and infiltrating the underground factories through various entrances. Inside, chaos reigned as the Jedi's sudden intrusion threw the factory into disarray. Geonosian guards and B-1 battle droids swarmed the area, launching a disorganized assault on the Jedi. Regrouping, Master Windu quickly took stock of their numbers, finding only 160 Jedi Knights remained, with 50 having fallen in their heroic efforts. With resolve, he pointed in a direction and declared, "Over there, Count Dooku and Obi-Wan Kenobi." Meanwhile, a shrill alarm echoed through the command center of the Geonosian planet's main lair, where General Grievous's holographic projection appeared. Clenching his fists, he bellowed, "Detected massive hyperspace jump. We're about to be attacked." However, the command center was nearly deserted. Count Dooku, Tang Xiao, Newt Gunley, and Gross had already departed for the dungeon, heading towards the arena. Queen Sintel and Thunbaktula had left earlier to return to their respective planets. Only San Hill, Walter Tambo, and Pacel Argent remained. Upon hearing General Grievous's warning, they exchanged bewildered glances, unsure of how to react. General Grievous, noting their expressions, said nothing more. He turned and ordered, "All fleets, prepare to meet the enemy," before severing the communication. In the outer space near the Geonosian planet, a brilliant white light flickered violently as 20 Cheer-class assault landing ships emerged from the hyperspace channel, appearing instantaneously. Aboard the flagship, the Indomitable, Master Yoda stood at the center of the bridge, leaning on his cane. He addressed the Zilkin commander, who was not much taller than himself. "It's over to you. Command the fleet, Colonel Mabel Garson." Tactical advisor Mabel Garson nodded, took his seat with determination, and commanded, "Break through the defenses of the Geonosian planet. Majestic Prosecutor, advance and attack." Vol 2, Chapter 514, Battle of Geonosis 4. The formation of the 20 Cheer-class assault landing ships underwent a swift transformation. The flagship, Indomitable, took its position at the center, while the other 7 battleships, led by the Majestic and the Inquisitor, initiated the assault. The remaining 12 battleships, laden with clone troops, provided fire support from the rear. The Cheer-class assault landing ships, known for their dual role as formidable warships, had their heavy turbo laser turrets pivot to aim at the 10 Generous-class communication frigates arrayed before them. Without hesitation, they unleashed a barrage of bright, thick laser beams that pierced the darkness of space. "Retaliate immediately. Don't let the Republic's fleet approach our transport ships," General Grievous commanded from the bridge of a Rukri Hook-class battleship, the flagship of the Confederation of Independent Systems. Fleet Commander Trabo, drenched in cold sweat, had cautiously positioned his 10 Generous-class frigates to intercept the Republic's Cheer-class assault landing ships, hoping to draw the battle into a long-range artillery duel. However, Mabel Gasson, the Republic's commander, was not about to give him that opportunity. The 7 Cheer-class ships surged forward, their engines at full thrust, concentrating their shield energy at the forefront. Their massive frames accelerated, aiming to breach the Confederate fleet's formation. Just then, the white light of a hyperspace jump appeared at the edge of the Geonosian planet, heralding the arrival of 6 Mel-class cruisers. These cruisers, though only 195 meters in length, boasted agility and formidable firepower. A communication link was established with the bridge of the Indomitable, revealing a Farallan man with an octopus-like head on the screen. "We are the Locke Avengers, here to hunt down the Sabos chapter. "Do you require assistance?" he inquired. Mabel Gasson swiftly navigated through the console, reviewing the incoming data. The Lock Avengers, a pirate organization led by Nim, known for raiding the Trade Alliance's fleets in recent years. Considering your history, you're permitted to join the battle. Please flank us so our fleet can penetrate Geonosian's defenses, she responded. I'm here to stir trouble for the Trade Federation and, incidentally, eradicate the Sabos chapter, Nim declared. You've chosen an opportune moment. The Sabos are currently engaged with the Jedi in Geonosian's atmosphere, Mabel Gasson informed him. That settles it, Nim exclaimed, directing his 6 Mel-class cruisers to attack from the flanks. As the fleets drew closer, Mabel Gasson issued the command for all Cheer-class assault landing ships to launch their hangars, releasing a swarm of V-19 Torrent fighter jets that surged forward like a plague of locusts. In response, Nim's Lock Avengers deployed dozens of H-6 Havoc fighter bombers, a high-performance model designed by the Nubian Engineering Company. Caught off guard by the Republic fleet's deployment of over 400 V-19 Torrent fighters, the Confederate battleships, already depleted of most of their fighters due to the Jedi Knight's earlier assault and the need to support the atmospheric battle, were overwhelmed. Under Mabel Gasson's leadership, a graduate of the Republic Naval Academy, the Republic fleet exploited the Cheer-class's strengths as landing ships with formidable firepower. They plunged into the Confederate fleet's formation, transforming the battle into a chaotic melee. Commander Telbo of the Confederate fleet found himself in a dire situation, struggling to regain control as the Republic forces bore down on them. The Confederate fleet commander Telbo was caught completely off guard by the Republic's strategic deployment, particularly the unexpected assault by the Cheer-class landing ships. The sudden and forceful entry of the Republic V-19 Torrent fighters into the battlefield threw Telbo and his fleet into chaos. Accustomed to dictating the pace of battle, the Confederate fleet found themselves dancing to the Republic's tune, unable to regain their footing. Amidst the turmoil, the Republic fleet leveraged the advantage provided by the 8 Cheer-class ships at the forefront of their assault. This strategic positioning, coupled with the entanglement of the Confederate fleet, allowed the Republic to dominate the battle. The unfolding situation was not only evident on the battlefield, but was also vividly displayed through projections intended for the command center. These visuals starkly highlighted the Confederate fleet's inability to counter the Republic's offensive. Commander Telbo, who had not anticipated such a bold move from the Republic, found his fleet's firepower, including that of the 10 Generous-class frigates, rendered ineffective against the Republic's coordinated attack. The Confederate fleet, once formidable and feared, was now struggling to match the rhythm set by the Republic's forces. The battle's dynamics were clear. The Confederate fleet, under the command of Telbo, was outmaneuvered and outclassed by the Republic's strategic ingenuity and the relentless pressure of their assault. The Confederation of Independent Systems fleet, once a symbol of power and control, was now facing a dire situation, unable to withstand the Republic fleet's onslaught. As the battle raged on, the situation for the Confederate fleet grew increasingly grim. The Republic's advantage, highlighted by the strategic use of the Cheer-class ships and the disruptive force of the V-19 Torrent fighters, left the Confederates scrambling for a response. The projection of the battle, meant for the eyes of the command center, served as a stark reminder of the shifting tides of war, with the Republic firmly seizing the upper hand. In a moment of reflection, the author humorously notes their state of inebriation, promising to make amends for any lapses in the recounting of the battle's events. This lighthearted admission adds a personal touch to the narrative, bridging the gap between the epic scale of the conflict and the human element behind its telling. Volume 2, Chapter 515, The Battle of Geonosis, Part 5. On the bridge of the battleship Indomitable, Master Yoda had been standing silently, his gaze introspective, as if meditating. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, and he turned to Mabel Garson, his voice grave. Approaching, great danger is. Mabel Garson, though surprised, trusted the wisdom of the Jedi Master. Master Yoda, are you referring to separatist reinforcements? Master Yoda nodded thoughtfully. Indeed. Commence landing on the planet at once. We cannot engage in battle while loaded with soldiers. Understanding the urgency, Mabel Garson immediately relayed the command. All landing teams, disengage and enter the planet's atmosphere immediately. Proceed with the attack as planned. The 12 Cheer-class assault landing ships, filled to the brim with clone troopers, broke away from the conflict and descended towards the Geonosian atmosphere. As they pierced through the sky, friction ignited the air around them, creating a spectacle as if the clouds themselves were aflame. Their target was an assembly point on the eastern hemisphere of Geonosis, identified from earlier reconnaissance. Upon entering the atmosphere, the ships unleashed a barrage on ground targets, while V-19 Torrent starfighters launched to secure air superiority. The Geonosian defense forces scrambled their fighters in response, but they were no match for the Republic's firepower. Despite General Grievous's furious reprimands over the communications, his forces, particularly the 10 Generous-class frigates under the command of the inept Trabo, were effectively pinned down by 7 Cheer-class assault ships, unable to retreat without risking significant losses. On the ground, the Geonosians mounted a fierce resistance. Anti-aircraft turrets emerged from concealment, unleashing a storm of fire against the Republic ships. Despite the destruction of their orbital defenses, their ground firepower was formidable enough to pose a serious threat. The Republic's response was swift. The Cheer-class ships deployed numerous L-8 low-altitude assault transport aircraft, including the larger LAC models for transporting heavy equipment and the smaller, yet heavily armed LI models capable of carrying 30 soldiers each. These transports, bristling with weaponry including laser cannons, beam turrets, and missile launchers, ferried troops and equipment to the surface. After softening the enemy positions with a preliminary bombardment, the transports landed, deploying clone troopers who quickly established forward positions, command centers, and artillery emplacements. The surface of Geonosis erupted into chaos as the Republic forces launched a coordinated assault on the main hive from 12 different directions, signaling the intensification of the Battle of Geonosis. The strategic layout had formed a blockade around the main stronghold, and the Geonosians, determined not to be outmatched, rallied an army of 1.1 million B-1 battle droids to launch a counterattack. Meanwhile, Master Yoda, aboard a LAT-I transport, led a fleet of transports directly to the arena in a daring rescue mission for Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and to support Master Windu, who was engaged in a fierce battle within the underground factory. Amidst these ground operations, an unexpected development unfolded in space. Aboard the Republic's flagship, the Indomitable, tactical advisor Mabel Garson received an urgent transmission from the Majestic, a battleship engaged in the space conflict. "Colonel, we've detected a hyperspace jump signal. It's from a large battleship," the captain reported, his voice tense with urgency. "Impossible. Our intelligence reports indicated that the Separatist fleets were all accounted for. Where could they possibly muster additional fleets from?" Mabel Garson responded, her shock evident. "I'm not sure. It's possible our intelligence was flawed, or perhaps we're dealing with Separatists and other unknown entities," the captain of the Majestic speculated. Mabel Garson narrowed her eyes, contemplating the situation. Despite the political turmoil and endless debates over the Military Creation Act in the Parliament, the Republic's military had not been idle. As the scent of war grew stronger, the Republic's Strategic Command had initiated intelligence operations early on. Given the intertwined nature of the opposing sides, with personnel frequently moving between them, the Republic had managed to gather detailed information on the Separatists' shipyards and spacecraft production. Informants within the Separatists' peripheral industrial bases had been leaking information to the Republic, making it difficult for the Separatists to conceal their activities. However, the Separatists had managed to maintain secrecy around their operations on the Dawn planet, thanks to the unparalleled cohesion of their fourth civilization. With the war now officially underway, gathering intelligence had become increasingly challenging, with most information coming directly from the front lines. According to the Republic's Ministry of Intelligence, the Separatist fleets had remained stationary, and no significant hyperspace jumps had been detected, until now. Before Mabel Garson could further ponder the situation, a brilliant white light flashed outside the gravity well of the Geonosian planet, heralding the arrival of 15 large warships. These vessels, measuring 1,100 meters in length and featuring a distinctive design with large heads and smaller bodies, were equipped with 4 prominent laser cannons at their front. Recognizing the ships on the screen, Mabel Gasson's eyes narrowed. These are Cole-class battlecruisers, a new type of separatist battleship constructed on the planet Semirth by the Dawn Planet. But how did they get here? Suddenly, a communication signal connected to the public channel, and a figure appeared on the screen, a heroic Chiss female general in a white uniform, high leather boots, with blue skin, red eyes, and voluminous wavy hair. She sat with her legs crossed, a mocking smile on her face. "Oh, caught off guard? Is this the best the Galactic Republic's fleet commanders can do? You're not even on par with the freshmen at our Naval Academy." Mabel Gasson clenched her teeth in frustration. "You separatist scum! We'll see about that." The female general laughed heartily. "Did you really think your hyperspace outposts would detect only the main channels? For someone like me, who has long battled in what you refer to as the unknown star field, navigating the complex hyperspace channels is second nature. It seems you're just a group of mediocrities, content with burying yourselves in books." She continued, her laughter echoing. "Before you meet your end, remember my name." Severance Tan's declaration sent a shiver down the spine of the Galactic Republic. "This will be a nightmare for the Galactic Republic," she proclaimed, her voice cutting off abruptly as the communication ended. In the vast expanse of space, the front of the 15 Cole-class battlecruisers came alive with the glow of heavy laser cannons. A breathtaking display of energy light preceded the unleashing of 60 laser beams, targeting the Confederate fleet's Cheer-class assault landing ships. "The Archon has been hit by a laser. It's an X-band laser," came the frantic report. "Shield power has dropped by 20%. Quick, maneuver! Turn!" Panic ensued on the Republic battleship that bore the brunt of the attack. Mabel Gasson, in a bid to control the chaos, bellowed, "Rearrange the ship's formation and exit the battle zone. I repeat, leave the battle." Master Yoda's voice then pierced through the commotion. "Support the space battlefield, then proceed with the landing. Make it swift." "Yes, inform the landing troops to return to space immediately after deploying all forces," Mabel Gasson commanded without hesitation. However, executing such an order was far from straightforward. Each Cheer-class assault landing ship was loaded with 16,000 clone soldiers and their equipment, totaling 200,000 troops. With 1,000 LAI transports and 400 LOA-C transports required for the operation, the logistics of deploying everyone in a timely manner were daunting. In the midst of space, only 7 Cheer-class assault landing ships were engaged in combat against 10 Generosity-class frigates and 15 Cole-class battlecruisers. Severance Tan's prowess in capturing fighter planes was unmatched, a fact she made abundantly clear. Severance Tan also managed to establish communication with Admiral Trabo, the commander of the Confederacy. She arrogantly demanded, "Cease your foolish commands. Hand over control of your warships to me, unless you wish to face a court-martial for your incompetence." "No, you can't do this," Trabo attempted to protest. "I'm under Governor Newt Gunley's." His words were cut short as he was suddenly choked by an unseen force. Severance Tan, with a mere gesture, had him gasping for air, his eyes wide with fear. "I demand control of your fleet. You're unfit to command," Severance Tan stated icily. With another wave of her hand, Trabo was flung aside by an invisible force. Fearing further reprisal, he quickly relinquished the identification code and authority to Severance Tan. "Now, I am in command. Report the status of each ship immediately and await my orders," Severance Tan ordered, her voice cold and commanding. "Yes, yes." The captains of the Generosity-class frigates, already intimidated by Tan's formidable presence, hastened to comply. They instructed the T-Series tactical droids to relay the status of their ships. The screen displayed the condition of the Generosity-class frigates, revealing shield damage ranging from 30 to 70%, with some ships having their shields completely breached due to the earlier confusion. The battle had been chaotic from the start. Mabel Gasson's strategy was to entangle Trabo's fleet, creating an opportunity for their forces to land. This tactic effectively dispersed the firepower of both sides. Admiral Trabo, caught unprepared for the chaotic battle, failed to utilize the full potential of the Generosity-class frigate's heavy turbo laser cannons, merely leading his ships in a futile chase around the Republic battleships. The complexity of the situation was evident. Each Cheer-class assault landing ship, tasked with deploying 200,000 troops using 1,000 LAI transports and 400 LA-C transports, faced a monumental challenge. With only 7 Cheer-class assault landing ships available for combat against the formidable opposition of 10 Generosity-class frigates and 15 Cole-class battlecruisers, the Republic's forces were stretched thin. Severance Tan's strategic acumen and commanding presence had indeed turned the tide of the battle, presenting a formidable challenge to the Galactic Republic. Severance Tan's prowess in commandeering fighter planes was unmatched. During a critical moment, she established communication with Admiral Trabo, the commander of the Confederacy's fleet. With an air of arrogance, she nearly sneered as she demanded, "Cease your futile commands. Hand over control of your warships to me if you wish to avoid a court-martial for dereliction of duty." Trabo attempted to resist, stuttering, You have no authority to demand that. I serve under Governor Newt Gunley's." His protest was cut short as he found himself suddenly gasping for air, choked by an unseen force. Severance Tan, with a mere gesture in the void, had him struggling, his eyes wide with fear. "I said, hand over control of your fleet. You're clearly unfit to command," Severance Tan declared icily. With another wave of her hand, Trabo was flung aside by the invisible force. This time, he didn't dare to resist and quickly surrendered the identification codes and command authority to Severance Tan. "Now, I am in command. Report the status of each ship immediately and be ready for my orders," Severance Tan commanded, her tone brooking no argument. Yes. The captains of the Generosity-class communication frigates, already intimidated by Tan's formidable presence, hastened to have the T-Series tactical droids beside them relay the status of their warships. Severance Tan reviewed the condition of the various Generosity-class frigates on her screen. She noted that the shields of these battleships had sustained damage ranging from 30 to 70%, a testament to the chaos that had ensued earlier. In fact, the battle had been a tumultuous affair from the start. Mabel Gasson's strategy had been to entangle Trabo's fleet, creating an opportunity for their forces to land. By deliberately plunging the battle into disarray, he had effectively dispersed the firepower of both sides. Admiral Trabo had proven himself woefully inept in this chaotic scenario. Unprepared for the disorderly combat, he failed to utilize the formidable firepower of the 2 heavy turbo laser cannons mounted on the Generosity-class frigates. Instead, he merely led his ships in a futile chase around the Republic battleships. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, the Geonosian landing battle, featuring the LA-8I low-altitude assault transport planes. Attachment 2 of the Easter egg chapter, the V-19 Torrent fighter. Volume 2, Chapter 516, The Battle of Geonosis 6. Severance Tan waited patiently before glancing at her watch. With a long sigh, she covered her forehead, muttered a curse under her breath, and then reconnected to the public channel. Her voice was icy as she addressed Mabel Garson on the other end. "Your level of incompetence is astonishing. Are you still debating whether to deploy your troops on the ground or to reinforce the space battle first? Your indecision is causing constant disruptions. Did you actually graduate from the Naval Academy? It's none of your concern, you traitor to the Republic. Just wait, you'll soon be obliterated by my fleet." Mabel Garson retorted, though his tone remained somewhat composed. He had already decided to expedite the deployment of his ground forces. He ordered 5 Cheer-class assault landing ships to descend directly to the planet's surface, opening their hatches to allow the troops to disembark swiftly. Additionally, he dispatched transport aircraft from these ships to assist in the deployment of forces from other warships. He was aware that not all ships could land without compromising the aerial support crucial for their ground forces. Despite his decision to rejoin the space operations as soon as possible, he recognized the importance of maintaining some level of air support for the time being. Severance Tan, twirling a lock of her soft black hair around her turquoise blue finger, spoke slowly. Had you concentrated your forces and faced me in a decisive battle, you might have met your end with some dignity, and I might have even respected you enough to remember your name. But now, you should witness the consequences of your hesitation. With that, she terminated the communication. A sudden realization struck Mabel Garson. He pushed aside a staff member and peered into the holographic display of the space battlefield. Indeed, as Severance Tan had orchestrated, the 10 Generosity-class frigates were continuously adjusting their positions, effectively manipulating the formation of the Republic's battleships. Except for the Sharp Fang, Valiant, and Borg, which had penetrated the enemy's formation, the other 4 battleships had been isolated from the main group. With the Akin battleship heavily damaged and withdrawn from the battle, the remaining 3 were left vulnerable, their engines exposed to the firepower of the 15 Cole-class battlecruisers. This strategic maneuver had been executed seamlessly, without the Republic's notice. Severance Tan's commands had not only optimized the positioning of the Generosity-class frigates, but had also strategically deployed the Cheer-class assault landing ships. She was effectively coordinating both warships and landing ships simultaneously. Despite the Republic fleet achieving some victories, with the shields of 4 Generosity-class frigates dropping below 10% and 1 being breached, the distribution of firepower had prevented any critical damage to their ships. The captains of the Cheer-class ships, likely proud of their accomplishments, were unaware of the imminent threat posed by the new Cole-class battlecruisers. Data on the Cole-class battlecruisers, now, immediately. Mabel Garson demanded, his voice strained to the breaking point. Colonel, the information on the Cole-class is quite limited. We've only received sparse details from a few shipyard workers. Intelligence suggests that the Cole-class has a large energy transmission line running through 2/3 of its hull, likely powering the 4 heavy laser cannons at the front of the battleship, a staff officer reported. No, retreat. Order them to retreat immediately, Mabel Garson exclaimed, realizing the grave mistake in underestimating the enemy's strategic prowess. Enter the atmosphere. Hurry up, Mabel Garson shouted, her voice laced with urgency and panic. Colonel, what's happening? She was asked. Haven't you noticed? The 15 Cole-class ships haven't fired a single shot since the Archon sustained heavy damage, Mabel Garson exclaimed. Retreat. But it was already too late. The fine line between genius and mediocrity is often just a matter of minutes, and in those few minutes lie the difference between victory and defeat, and between life and death. Severance Tan flicked her finger through her smooth black hair, letting it slip between her fingers. With her dark blue lips slightly parted, she spoke in a calm, measured tone. Supermaterial electromagnetic gun, fire. The supermatter begins to charge, lower the shield. The reaction chamber starts to discharge, and the charge is at 50%, 60%. The charge is complete. Target locked. Launch. The operator relayed a series of commands. The front hull of the 15 Cole-class battlecruisers began to glow with a dazzling light. Suddenly, the entire hull vibrated, and a solid projectile with a diameter of 40 meters was launched at an incredible speed. These massive projectiles, accelerated by supermatter, were the result of groundbreaking technology. Under the guidance of the Solarian scientist Arroyo, a series of technical challenges were overcome to find a way to use supermatter as a substitute for the element zero, which only exists in the mass effect universe. This induced a mass effect through supermatter conduction. During this process, the mass of the projectile is reduced to nearly zero, placing it in a state similar to that of a Star Wars spaceship entering a hyperspace channel. Normally, this state lasts for only a fraction of a billionth of a second. However, with the mass effect of supermatter, the duration is extended to 1/10,000th of a second. In this brief window, the huge projectile is accelerated to 1/10 the speed of light, generating a powerful annihilation reaction. This is the supermatter electromagnetic gun, also known as the super-electromagnetic cannon. The distance of tens of thousands of kilometers was covered in an instant. Almost simultaneously with the launch, the Majestic, Prosecutor, and Double Star battleships of the Galactic Republic fleet were hit hard. Their shields, after a period of engagement, stood no chance against the massive solid projectiles with their terrifying kinetic energy and mass effect reactions. The battleship Aiken, already severely damaged and retreating, was struck by a shell directly. In a violent explosion and fire, the battleship broke into two, then three pieces amidst a series of secondary explosions. Countless mechanical parts, shards, and human limbs were ejected from the shattered remains of the battleship, creating a hellish scene. The Majestic and the Double Star were destroyed instantly, while the Prosecutor lost all power and drifted aimlessly in space, a lifeless steel coffin. This devastating scene was transmitted to the holographic projection in front of Mabel Garson through the sensors of the remaining battleships. Severance Tan watched the tragic aftermath with a growing smile on her lips. She glanced at her watch and said to the T-Series tactical robot beside her, "Recalculate the rotation rate of the Geonosian planet. The countdown is 10 minutes. Prepare the supermatter electromagnetic gun for immediate recharge. Leave the remaining ships for the others to deal with slowly." "Yes," the T-Series tactical robot responded, nodding in agreement before beginning to issue new commands. "Let's see what the Republic's mediocrity plans to do now." "They're in a dead end," Tan muttered to herself, her gaze fixed on the unfolding disaster. Vol 2, Chapter 517, The Battle of Geonosis. 7. Mabel Garson stared blankly at the screen, feeling utterly drained of strength. During the communication, the battleships Sharpfang, Borg, and Valor had been sending distress signals. Now, with only 3 ships remaining in space, the situation seemed dire. The fighter-class assault landing ship was caught in a heavy siege. Witnessing the destruction of friendly warships had completely shattered the morale of the officers and soldiers, leaving them with no will to fight. Meanwhile, Nim, the leader of the pirate group Lock Avengers who had joined the battle earlier, seized the opportunity to flee with his 6 Mel-class cruisers. Severance Tan, unbothered by these minor threats, dispatched a few Vulture robot fighters to pursue them, considering the matter resolved. Mabel Garson found himself in a desperate situation. He had now witnessed the formidable firepower of the Cole-class battlecruisers and understood Severance Tan's intentions. She planned to use her fleet to break through and launch a lethal attack on the Geonosian planet while they were still in the atmosphere. Garson's original strategy had been to have the 7 battleships in space hold off the Separatist fleet for an hour, allowing him time to deploy all ground troops before leading the 13 Cheer-class ships from the planet's surface back into space. He intended to regroup with the space fleet and engage the Separatists in a decisive battle. However, he hadn't anticipated that Tan's target was not the 7 battleships in space, but the 13 within the atmosphere. Had he rushed out of the atmosphere without considering his ground troops, he would have walked right into Tan's trap. The main gun salvo had demonstrated that only half of his 13 battleships might have made it out. The Cheer-class battleships, in particular, would have been vulnerable to the super-powered kinetic energy weapon while focusing all shield power on the thermal shield during their ascent. Even if he had managed to get half of the battleships out, combining them with the remaining ships in space would have given him a total of 14 battleships. This might not have guaranteed victory, but it would have at least given him a fighting chance. However, his greed for both protecting the ground troops and engaging the Separatist fleet in space after deploying the troops led to a muddled approach and ultimately cost him his last opportunity for combat. Severance Tan's salvo, initially prepared for Garson, destroyed 4 Cheer-class ships, effectively annihilating the Republic's presence in space. Tan had anticipated Garson's indecision from the start, arrogantly revealing her plan over the public channel and mocking him for his folly. Indeed, Garson's greed and hesitation had led to the collapse of morale among the remaining officers and soldiers, who now lacked any fighting spirit. The Separatist fleet could calmly readjust its focus, directing all firepower towards the planet Geonosis, and wait for Garson to make his move. Garson realized too late that his indecision had cost him the last chance for a decisive fleet battle, leading to a dead end. Severance Tan, though confident in her superiority, regretted the missed opportunity for a fair and honorable confrontation. She believed that even in a direct battle, her command would have left no chance for the Republic, but the process itself would have been more satisfying. In his desperation, Garson remembered the Jedi Knights. However, Master Yoda was preoccupied with rescuing Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker and had no time to assist. Garson was left to face the grim reality of his situation, with no hope of support from the Jedi. Still connected to Master Yoda's communication, the desperate plea for guidance was made clear. Master Yoda, though sighing, maintained a firm gaze. He spoke slowly. Retreat immediately. Have the remaining battleships stand firm and wait for assistance. This is our last resort. The battle for the Galactic Republic is destined for defeat. All we can do now is to minimize the tragedy of our loss. Mobile Gasson relayed grim directive to the 3 battleships, Borg, Sharptooth, and Valiant. The situation is dire. The Separatist fleet has us in their sights, and a concentrated attack to break through the atmosphere is too risky. We cannot expect rescue. Please, scatter and evacuate. Escape while you can. The communication was filled with the roars of the captains from the 3 battleships. Anyone with insight could see that, surrounded by 10 Generosity-class frigates and 15 Cole-class battlecruisers, escape was the only viable option. Mabel Garson's expression darkened as he listened to the curses and protests over the communication, eventually closing the channel in distress. Moments later, communications from the 3 Cheer-class assault landing ships reached Coruscant, each bearing the same message. The enemy awaits outside, cutting off any hope for aid. Our ship will fight to the last person. Long live the Galactic Republic. In their final moments, they preserved their dignity as soldiers of the Republic, refusing to surrender to the Separatists or fleeing cowardice. After all, in their eyes, the Separatists were nothing more than corporations and businessmen. The idea of a state surrendering to the armed forces of a company was unthinkable. Meanwhile, Tang Xiao and Count Dooku were seated in the stands of the Grand Arena, witnessing the execution of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. As planned by Count Dooku, the execution was turned into a spectacle, with the 2 Jedi chained to a pillar in the center of the arena, facing death by beasts. However, Anakin and Obi-Wan, with their exceptional wit and use of the terrain, managed to defeat the beasts. Tang Xiao observed in silence. Despite the events on Geonosis unfolding differently from the movie's plot, certain inevitable moments still occurred. The arena scene, for instance, played out as expected, albeit without Padmé's presence, and with Rock Johnson's whereabouts unknown following the earlier battle. Tang Xiao was curious to see if the subsequent developments would align with the original storyline. Count Dooku turned to Tang Xiao with a smile, saying, "The Governor-General had the foresight to arrange the fleet in advance. It seems the commander of the Chiz is indeed very capable. Congratulations to you." Tang Xiao responded politely, "It's only through our collective strength that we can establish this new order." Vol 2, Chapter 518, The Battle of Geonosis, 8. The Planet of Dawn was still brimming with talent. There had been the Dark Jedi Artanis and the formidable Dark Lord mentioned by many. Now, there was a genius commander from the Chiss. It seemed that in this war, reliance on their strength was inevitable. Count Dooku, with a warm smile, expressed his thoughts to Tang Xiao. "Hardly," Tang Xiao modestly replied, feigning ignorance. "I'm not even sure who that lord is, and Adra has been missing lately. Perhaps the lord you're referring to is Darth Sidious. I can't envision another being in this galaxy possessing such power and darkness." Count Dooku scrutinized Tang Xiao, searching for any hint in his expression. However, Tang Xiao's mastery over the dark side of the Force was impeccable. After Plagueis' demise, he had followed Darth Tenebris' spirit in practicing the dark arts and the Sith way. Occasionally, he sought guidance from Artanis, contrasting the Jedi Knight's methods with his own. Even in a conversation with Master Yoda, Tang Xiao's true nature remained undetected, let alone by Count Dooku. Finding no clues, Count Dooku continued, "Should the opportunity arise, I would appreciate an introduction to that lord. I believe he will play a pivotal role in our new order." "I can only make such a promise from my perspective," Tang Xiao responded with a smile. As they spoke, Count Dooku glanced towards the factory in the distance. "Before that, however, I believe we have some minor nuisances to address. It might get dangerous here. You should leave first." It's safer that way. At that moment, a formidable force of Jedi Knights emerged from the underground passage. Led by Master Windu, wielding a purple lightsaber, they were unstoppable. Neither the droids nor the Geonosian soldiers could halt their advance. Over 100 Jedi Knights had infiltrated from the underground factory, utilizing its complex terrain to their advantage, preventing the numerically superior droid army from effectively engaging them. Some Jedi Knights stormed the arena, rescuing Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Master Windu, along with a few others, leaped over 10 meters, landing directly in front of Count Dooku. Count Dooku stepped forward, igniting his blood-red lightsaber. "Leave this to me, you all go first." Following his command, dozens of B-2 super battle droids emerged from a hidden passage beneath the spectator seats. "Dooku, I never imagined you would stoop so low," Master Windu exclaimed, filled with anger. "It merely shows that it is the Republic and the Jedi Order that have declined," Count Dooku retorted calmly. He used the Force to block Master Windu and his companions, preventing them from pursuing Tang Xiao and the others. "Moreover, I've been expecting you." With a mere wave of his hand, the surrounding B-2 battle droids extended their arms, their mounted blaster guns firing relentlessly. Master Windu and the others were forced to deflect the barrage of blaster beams with their lightsabers. In the arena's center, hundreds of Jedi Knights found themselves encircled by an overwhelming force of droids. The B-1 and B-2 super battle droids formed a tight formation, advancing slowly but steadily, their weapons firing continuously. The Jedi Knights, standing back to back, wielded their lightsabers, deflecting the relentless onslaught of blaster fire. Meanwhile, some of the more powerful Jedi Masters unleashed waves of the Force, repelling the approaching droids. Amidst the chaos, a B-1 battle droid armed a rocket launcher and fired. In the midst of the chaos, Jedi Master Luminara Unduli, standing at a distance, raised her hand and with a forceful push, directed a rocket straight towards the droid army. The explosion that followed was massive, decimating a large swath of the droid phalanx. Concurrently, energy beams deflected by another Jedi Knight rained down upon the droid forces, causing continuous destruction. Yet the droid army seemed infinite. From an aerial view, one could see the arena being overwhelmed by the advancing tide of dark metal. "Do you realize the extent of my preparations for your arrival? 200,000 droids," Count Dooku boasted, sheathing his lightsaber. Even he, when faced with Master Windu, would not claim certainty of victory. In his view, it was more prudent to let the droids handle the confrontation between the Jedi's finest and himself. Master Windu, visibly infuriated, was eager to confront Count Dooku directly. However, witnessing the Jedi Knights struggling valiantly in the arena's center, he recognized that defeating Dooku wouldn't be straightforward. Thus, he leaped from the stands, and while still airborne, unleashed a powerful force push that scattered dozens of droids below, shattering them against the walls. Wielding his purple lightsaber, Master Windu charged through the droid ranks with unparalleled speed, his movements reminiscent of a whirlwind, yet his presence alone could not turn the tide. The Jedi, despite their valor, found themselves increasingly overwhelmed. Their strength had limits, and against a relentless onslaught of blaster fire and rockets, even the slightest lapse could prove fatal. Coleman Trebor, a member of the Jedi High Council, was among those who felt the strain. Known for his diplomatic duties, this battle was a stark departure from his usual assignments. Under normal circumstances, his mastery of the Force would have been sufficient, but facing 200,000 droids was another matter entirely. As the droids pressed in, Trebor deflected their blaster shots with diminishing speed. In a moment of desperation, he managed to slice one droid in half, but this brief distraction allowed an energy beam to strike his shoulder. The impact caused him to drop his lightsaber, and before he could recover, a B-2 super battle droid delivered a crushing blow to the back of his head. As he fell, a circle of droids closed in, unleashing a barrage of fire upon him. This chapter, titled Battle of the Arena, captures a pivotal moment of conflict, highlighting the Jedi's resilience against overwhelming odds. Vol 2, Chapter 519, Battle of Geonosis 9. In the midst of a relentless siege by droids, the Jedi Knights, led by Master Mace Windu, fought valiantly. Despite their success in rescuing Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, their mission to capture Count Dooku and bring an end to the war seemed increasingly futile. Surrounded by an overwhelming force of 200,000 droids, Master Windu and his team made several attempts to break through, but to no avail. Despite eliminating thousands of droids, their efforts seemed insignificant as the ranks of the Jedi continued to dwindle, leaving just over 50 still standing. Yet, they fought on with unwavering bravery, refusing to retreat. Witnessing this, Count Dooku was reminded of his own past within the Jedi Order and the heroic battles fought across the galaxy, including the recent conflict on Galadron against the Mandalorians. A flicker of remorse crossed his eyes, prompting him to halt the droid army's advance. The B-2 super battle droids retracted their blaster arms, activating their cooling systems and emitting a mist. The Jedi seized this moment to catch their breath and regain some strength. "Surrender, Mace Windu. Your fleet has been decimated, and there's no escape. You no longer need to serve the crumbling Republic. You could achieve so much more." Count Dooku proclaimed from the spectator stands. "I am not like you, Dooku. I will never betray the Republic," Master Windu responded resolutely. "Then you choose death," Dooku declared, signaling the droid army to resume their advance before turning to leave. At that moment, dozens of AI assault transport ships descended from the sky, unleashing a devastating barrage on the droid forces below. The transport ships' spherical turrets fired powerful laser beams, obliterating the droids in their path. Despite the Republic fleet's losses in space, they maintained air superiority on Geonosis. The droids redirected their fire towards the sky as clone troopers poured out of the transport ships, quickly establishing defensive positions. Demonstrating remarkable skill and training, they managed to hold off an enemy force 10 times their size. Master Yoda approached Master Windu, stating gravely, "The battle in space has been lost. We must seek reinforcements on Geonosis." Master Windu simply nodded in acknowledgement. The Jedi and clone troopers then boarded the LAI transport ships to retreat. Mabel Gasson, the Republic's tactical advisor, contacted Master Yoda. "The remaining 3 battleships in space, the Sharp Fang, the Borg, and the Valiant, have been destroyed. What are our next steps?" "Our only option now is to intensify the ground assault, aim to capture the Geonosians' main stronghold, sever their ground-to-space communications, and await Republic reinforcements," Master Windu explained. Master Yoda concurred with a nod. Turning to the clone commander beside him, Master Windu inquired, "How many of the Jedi fighters that landed earlier can we recover?" "We've secured the area and salvaged a total of 83 fighter jets. 15 are operational immediately, while the rest require maintenance aboard the spacecraft," the clone commander reported. "Prepare those fighters for action as soon as possible. We need every available asset," Master Windu instructed, then addressed Master Adi Gallia. "Lead a squadron of Jedi Knights in those fighters, and fighter jets were dispatched, and the Sabos chapter was mobilized first." "The spaceship is destroyed," came the urgent communication. Mabel Gasson responded promptly, "I will immediately dispatch 3 Cheer-class battleships and all available squadrons to assist." As they were strategizing, an unexpected and catastrophic event unfolded. More than a dozen colossal beams descended from the sky, striking the ground with lethal force. The impact sites erupted into infernos, the ultra-high temperatures igniting the air. A terrifying windstorm ensued, fueled by the rapid expansion of the flames, which spread indiscriminately. Clone soldiers and various armored vehicles within the vicinity were reduced to ashes. The 13 Cheer-class assault landing ships in the sky bore the brunt of the attack. Most of the lasers targeted these battleships, overwhelming their shield capacitors one after another. The bridge consoles blared with harsh alarm sounds. The relentless bombardment even set the clouds ablaze, clearing them away to reveal the starry sky above. The orbital bombardment's effect on the planet's atmosphere was devastatingly clear. "The Separatist fleet is conducting orbital bombardment. All ships focus the shield energy upwards," Mabel Gasson ordered in a panic. He communicated urgently, "Master Yoda, Master Windu, we can't land. We're sitting ducks here with no means to retaliate. Continue to resist. We must capture the main stronghold on Geonosis. This is their home planet. They cannot sustain this orbital bombardment indefinitely." Master Windu responded with unwavering determination. Meanwhile, on Geonosis, Archduke Poggle the Lesser was in a fury. "Are you insane? This is my planet. How dare you bombard it from orbit? I will have you court-martialed for this." Severance Tan, unfazed, retorted coldly, "If it weren't for your incompetence and cowardice, I wouldn't need to intervene from space. Now tell me, how do you plan to defend your stronghold against an attack by 200,000 troops? I care deeply for my planet, but if you dare to attack Geonosis again, I swear it will never end well for you." Poggle the Lesser roared in defiance. "And what if I do? Do you plan to kill me? I'm right here, waiting for you." Severance Tan sneered, the tension between them palpable. At that moment, Count Dooku's communication came through. He spoke solemnly. "Cease the orbital bombardment. I've informed Governor Tang Xiao of the situation, and he is en route by shuttle. The loading of the droid army is complete. Take your 800,000 droids, return to your own war zone, and prepare for the next major offensive." Severance Tan grunted in acknowledgement, but ceased his provocations. Vol 2, Chapter 520, Battle of Geonosis 10. At this juncture, 8 Lucre Hook-class battleships disengaged from their stationary orbit around Geonosis and aligned with the formation of 15 Cole-class battlecruisers, commanded by Severance Tan. Tang Xiao's image materialized on the screen before Tan, his expression adorned with a subtle smile. "You've performed admirably, Tan. It's time we moved on. We've sufficiently aided Count Dooku. The war has commenced. Now we must proceed with our own agenda. If the Republic's commanders are of this caliber, then indeed we can afford to be more ambitious," Severance Tan remarked, twirling a strand of her hair around her finger. "Let's depart. Our involvement here was minimal, merely firing a few shots. There's no excitement left for us." Tang Xiao nodded in agreement. Their fleet, representing the Fourth Civilization, had indeed only engaged minimally, leaving the brunt of the conflict to the Confederation of Independent Systems. The 15 Cole-class battlecruisers hadn't even activated their shields. With their objective achieved, the Republic's inability to destroy the Confederation's transport fleet, the outcome on the ground, though unchanged from the original storyline, would be severely limited without Space Fleet support. This could potentially draw more Republic troops and fleets into a war of attrition. Considering this, Tang Xiao allowed himself a smirk as he eyed a planet on the star map, plotting their next move. Meanwhile, on Geonosis, the battle at the main lair's front line grew increasingly brutal. The Confederation of Independent Systems had deployed an army of 1.1 million droids, launching relentless assaults on the Republic's clone army landing sites. This droid army included 7,500 towering OG-9 homing spider droids, 15,000 agile DSD-1 dwarf spider droids capable of navigating walls and mountains, and 4,100 hailfire droids armed with missiles, among others. However, lacking sophisticated tactical commands, these droids charged forward mindlessly and were swiftly decimated by the clone army's firepower. The clone army had established formidable defenses, deploying 2,160 ATE walkers and over 8,000 E-Web heavy blaster machine guns, creating a formidable wall of firepower. The E-Web, known for its reliability and portability, had become a staple in the Republic's arsenal. Behind these defenses, 100 SPT artillery units provided devastating long-range support, each capable of unleashing a barrage that could obliterate swathes of the droid army. After deploying all troops via 1,000 LAI gunships, which also provided air support, the clone army utilized more than 100 TX-130 Saber tanks to target high-threat droid units. Against such an overwhelming display of firepower, the droid army, despite its numerical superiority, could not breach the clone army's defenses. The continuous destruction of their heavy machinery was a significant blow to Count Dooku, who watched from afar. In the command center, the atmosphere was charged with tension. High above, Jedi Master Adi Gallia led a formidable squadron consisting of 15 Jedi Knights piloting Delta-7 fighters, accompanied by 40 clone pilots in V-19 Torrent fighters. They launched a decisive assault against the invading forces of the Sabos chapter. The Sabos chapter fighters, already engaged in prolonged combat, suffered heavy losses. Overwhelmed by the ferocity of the Jedi Knight fighters, they attempted to flee in panic. In their haste, one of their warships strayed into the firing range of the Clone Legion's ground forces and was obliterated by more than 30 SPHT self-propelled artillery units within minutes. The remaining 2 battleships met their demise at the hands of Adi Gallia. With the departure of Severance Tan's fleet, the Galactic Republic's forces regained the upper hand. In a desperate bid to turn the tide, General Grievous, who was preoccupied with ordering his convoy to evacuate as swiftly as possible, commanded 10 Generosity-class frigates under Trabo to enter the atmosphere of the plan at Geonosis to support their faltering operation. Concurrently, Count Dooku mobilized fleets from other sectors to provide reinforcements. Upon learning of the presence of Masters Windu and Yoda, he aimed to decisively win the battle and capture the core group of Jedi Knights led by them in one fell swoop. The remaining contingent of approximately 50 Jedi Knights under the leadership of Master Windu assumed command of the clone army. Each Jedi Master led a separate battalion. Despite their lack of formal military training, these Jedi Masters possessed the ability to foresee danger. Coupled with the expertise of clone officers, their strategic and combat effectiveness was significantly enhanced. The clone army decimated a vast number of droids, advancing over their wreckage to mount a counteroffensive. The 10,000-strong clone army breached the droid army's front lines from 7 directions, creating a gap and effectively dividing their forces. The droid army, already weakened by the loss of most of its heavy combat machines in the initial assault, was overwhelmed. Despite their lack of fear, the relentless droids continued their assault only to be systematically dismantled by the superior firepower of the clone army, hastening their destruction. As the battlefront progressed, even the spherical core ships of some Rookie Hook-class battleships were destroyed by the SPHA-1 self-propelled guns, which came into range before they could take off. Realizing the dire situation, Newt Gunley, Thornhill, and others hastily fled in their spaceship, leaving Count Dooku to abandon the devastated General Grievous and his forces. The Geonosian Archduke Bogle, the inferior, led his people to seek refuge in the extensive network of underground cities they had constructed, fearing to emerge for the time being. At this critical juncture, Trabo's fleet arrived, albeit belatedly, and engaged in an aerial battle with 13 Cheer-class assault landing ships, managing to salvage some dignity from the defeat. General Grievous, having successfully dispatched the transport fleet, took personal command of the situation. Under his strict orders, the Bogle minions mobilized an additional force of 150,000 Geonosian soldiers and over 400,000 droids from other locations to rejoin the battle, demonstrating their unwavering resolve to fight. Vol 2, Chapter 521, The Battle of Geonosis. Conclusion. The Galactic Republic's fleet suffered a devastating loss, with all its battleships in space destroyed. This left the Republic unable to threaten the Confederation of Independent Systems convoys. On the ground, the situation wasn't much better. The clone army managed to shoot down one core ship with their SPAT self-propelled guns, but the majority of the transport ships remained intact. With the loading completed, General Grievous, previously preoccupied, turned his full attention to the frontline operations. Upon reviewing the deployment near planet Geonosis's main lair, his fury was palpable. In a fit of rage, he dismantled the T-Series tactical robot overseeing the operation. Grievous then reorganized the remaining droid army into over 700 combat groups, launching a simultaneous attack from multiple directions. With the Grand Duke of Poggle, the Lesser, having evacuated the main lair, Grievous made the decision to destroy it, momentarily disorienting the clone army. Master Yoda, alongside Master Windu and tactical advisor Mabel Garson, deliberated their next move. Despite Garson's suggestion to retreat immediately, Yoda and Windu decided against it. Given the absence of fleet protection in space and the presence of 10 Venator-class frigates still engaged in atmospheric combat, withdrawing the 200,000-strong clone army was deemed impossible. Garson, having lost all confidence, seemed eager to escape the horrors of Geonosis, effectively ending his military career. The clone army's last hope rested on establishing a strong defensive position while simultaneously securing access to the underground tunnels. With their ships and heavy equipment still operational, they planned to hold their ground. Once their resources were depleted, the plan was to retreat into Geonosis's vast underground network, buying time. On Geonosis, the 200,000 clone troopers found themselves in a dire situation, cut off from supplies and reinforcements. General Grievous commanded an army of approximately 600,000 droids, with more being produced. However, the loss of heavy equipment was a setback that couldn't be quickly remedied. The Venator-class frigates, already weakened from space battles, struggled under Grievous's relentless orders. The Republic couldn't abandon its clone troopers, and the Confederacy wouldn't let them escape easily. The battle raged on. Meanwhile, Count Dooku made a covert visit to an uninhabited industrial area on Coruscant. Cloaked in a black cape, he knelt before Darth Sidious, presenting a device containing the plans for the DS-1 orbital battle station. "As per your grand design, the war has commenced, my lord," Dooku stated respectfully. Darth Sidious, with a sinister chuckle, responded, "Excellent. Everything is proceeding as planned, Darth Tyrannus. Yoda and Windu are trapped on Geonosis, but we must act swiftly. The fate of the 200,000 clone troopers is intertwined with our larger scheme. You have 1 day to eliminate the Jedi before reinforcements arrive." Dooku, concerned, inquired about the rumored presence of another Sith Lord. Sidious's response was cold and clear. "He is an obstacle. Should he dare to interfere, eliminate him." Darth Sidious spoke with a chilling tone. "The only confirmed information we have is that Adra Cadis, a former Jedi apprentice, has become a dark Jedi Knight under this individual's tutelage. Furthermore, Tang Xiao, the governor of the Dawn Planet, has numerous connections with this mysterious figure. However, that's the extent of our knowledge. Adra Cadis has been missing for 6 months." Count Dooku added, "The Dawn Planet, along with the Trade Federation, the Fourth Faction, the Interstellar Banking Clan, the Techno Union, the Corporate Alliance, and the Commerce Guild. These factions must be eradicated in the upcoming war. Only then can we establish a superior regime, a government that truly belongs to humans." Darth Sidious spread his arms wide. "This will be my honor, my lord," Count Dooku responded, bowing high as head. War had erupted. Led by Master Yoda, 20 Cheer-class assault landing ships touched down on May 21st. The Battle of Geonosis had been raging for 29 standard hours, marking the beginning of a full-scale war between the Galactic Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. On the morning of May 22nd, Count Dooku departed Coruscant for the main planet of Lassax. In front of millions present at the event, and potentially billions or even trillions watching, he officially declared the formation of the Confederation of Independent Systems. This new confederation, primarily based in the Outer Rim territories, included tens of thousands of planets from both the central and inner regions of the galaxy. By signing the Declaration of Independence, they announced their secession from the Galactic Republic to join the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, effectively splitting the Milky Way in two. Merely 10 minutes after Count Dooku's announcement, the Speaker of the Galactic Republic, Schiff Palpatine, delivered a public address. He officially declared that peace negotiations had failed and that the Galactic Republic was now fully engaged in a state of war. The conflict would continue until Count Dooku was captured, the Separatist forces were defeated, and the Republic was unified once again. In response to the situation on Geonosis, Speaker Palpatine ordered the Republic Strategic Command to organize reinforcements immediately. Their mission was to rescue Master Yoda and the 200,000 clone troopers stranded on the planet. Meanwhile, Jedi Master Shaak Ti, who had urgently returned from Kamino, temporarily took charge of the Jedi Order alongside Depa Billaba. However, complications arose with the delivery of 60 new warships, the Chariot-class battlecruisers, promised by the Quat power dock. Willix Blissex, the chief engineer, faced immense pressure and ultimately resigned. Masters Depa Billaba and Shaak Ti were forced to request that the Republic Strategic Command urgently mobilize the defense fleet and the original judicial fleet to form a new, temporary fleet to rush to Geonosis. On May 23rd, the Intelligence Department of the Galactic Republic Strategic Command received multiple reports almost simultaneously. The Techno Union's battleship group in the Faring Galaxy has vanished. The Dawn Star battleship group from the planet Anji is missing. The Semirth Star battleship group has disappeared. The interstellar banking clan's battleship group on planet Makito is gone. A large number of warships have gathered at the spaceport of Cato Neimoidia. Separatist battleships have been spotted on the planet Felucia. The Confederation of Independent Systems had launched an all-out attack, signaling a new phase in the galactic conflict.